Welcome everybody back into Nerd Sesh. As always, I'm Carson Bradburn. Alongside me is Logan Camden, and today we are joined by a very special guest, a good friend of the show. We've got Theo Ash with us. You know him from the Stay Hot podcast with Matthew Sponhour and Bladen Kirk. You know him from his TikTok, Theo Ash NFL, and you know him from being one of the most decorated and prolific guests in Nerd Sesh history, so much so that he is returning after just a couple months was the last time we had him on. And more importantly now, for the second edition of the very important task that we are going to be taking on together today. We did this last year. We're running it back today. But before we get into that, Theo, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. It's winter. It's brisk. It's cold outside. Christmas is just around the corner. How can I not be doing well?
Such a great point. Such a great point. You get real Christmas. You know, we don't get any seasons out here in California. It's always actually like kind of cold right now. It's like 50, but snow on the ground. That's got to be nice. Very romantic. Logan, how the hell are you, buddy?
I'm fantastic. I'm so excited Theo's back on the show. I am so ready to piss everybody off with these lists. And you know what, man? I'm going balls to the walls this year, bro. Last year, I think I took a little bit of reputational, I did some reputation-based thinking with some of my. I don't care anymore what the public thinks of these guys.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put them in the order that I want them on my team. That is the biggest criteria. Do I want you on my squad or not? So like last year, I had some kid gloves on with some of these guys. I'm not doing it this year, man.
Phillip Rivers at 1. He's got more Pro Bowls than Mahomes, Allen, Lamar.
Exactly.
That fires me up, Logan. You should never, ever, ever let anybody tell you how to think, tell you how to be, because you're wonderful just the way you are, buddy. I'm excited to see what sort of fiery list you're going to put out there today. We are ranking all 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. There is going to be controversy. There's going to be fireworks, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. But most importantly, we're just going to have a great time talking about all these guys, breaking down their games. We are including injured players who we consider to be the clear starters for their teams. So Daniel Jones, obviously, unfortunately, just went down for the year. He's still going to be on this list. Kyler Murray, guys like that, we are still going to rank. Beyond that, in terms of the criteria that matters to you, Theo, when it comes to actually evaluating a quarterback and determining their value on this list, what does factor into that whole picture?
At the end of the day, I think it's capability of winning, honestly. I mean, winning is not a quarterback stat, and we've seen really great quarterbacks miss playoffs, but it's always usually around 500, I feel like, when that happens. I think the best always give you a pretty high floor, and to me, what makes a great quarterback is if your right guard is terrible, if your right tackle is terrible, if both of them are terrible, and your receivers, and your tight end, and your coach, you're still winning games. You're still able to break those tackles from defensive linemen. You're still able to fit the ball in a tight window so your receiver has no chance but to catch it. You're able to swirl the defense and create your own openings. You make play calling easy because shotgun passes are just going to work, and you can call those things, and it just is good offense because you're a good quarterback. Really, I think the ability to kind of overcome other weak points on the roster some way or another, whether it's with your mind, whether it's with your legs, whether it's with your arm talent, there's got to be something about you that is special, and special traits is kind of what I'm looking for, I guess.
Logan, what's your criteria?
I think Theo said it pretty well. We're doing our best to evaluate guys in a vacuum. You're trying to eliminate their situation and separate their individual abilities from their surrounding pieces, and that is the accumulation of this list. I guess I'd add on top of that, there are a bunch of different ways you could think about this. You could include contracts into the way that you're ranking these guys and how that handicaps building your team around them. Mm-hmm. I didn't. For some of these lists, we can do that. I really did just go based on ability and how much I want you under center for my team. And like Theo said, winning isn't a quarterback stat, but it is, you're trying to strike that balance.
It's your ability to impact winning.
Exactly. And That's basically what I'm going off of. And I think everything's included, like physical abilities, your mind. I think resume and what you've accomplished is important too, but it's really your individual abilities. I am so excited to see where we disagree. And my list is bonkers.
Hell yeah, dude. Logan is hyping up this list. I can't wait to see where you have Phillip Rivers. Again, I'm hoping top 5. I agree with a lot of what you guys said when it comes to the criteria. So there is an important distinction to be made here compared to the list that Logan and I just did last week, which is our top 10 quarterbacks to build around, where age, availability, contract, all those things are huge factors. Here, I don't care about any of those things at all. I am purely judging how good you are at playing the quarterback position right now. And what does that mean to me? Like you guys were saying, it is your ability independent of situation. And to determine that, we actually have to consider context a great deal, because football is a sport with so many interrelated components, which is why numbers lie so much in this sport. There are so many factors that are going to play into your individual production, your play calling, your offensive line pass protection, your receivers, obviously, the viability of your run game, what is being put on your plate, what is your offense able to take off of your plate. Like, there are just so many moving parts with any of these guys, which is why I do lean more so on, as Theo was saying, looking at traits here. And traits to me is not a purely physical thing. It is the totality of your independent ability to process, throw the football accurately, have good pocket presence, but then of course also these physical factors, your ability to make those big time throws, big arm talent, the ability to move, create plays out of structure, all that stuff factors into it. And that is the stuff that translates across situation. Like, it's not just, can you save the worst situation? Obviously, it's more so for me, like, if I drop you in a median situation in the NFL, how much are you going to excel? Because there are a lot of quarterbacks who can put up good, nice looking numbers when they are in a really good situation. Your ability to succeed independent of that with run-of-the-mill talent around you is important to consider. You really have to look at the full context when you consider how good a quarterback actually is. So we're all pretty similar in terms of how we're viewing this. Let's start from the bottom. Let's get right into it. Number 32. Who do you have, Theo?
Probably Shedeur Sanders.
Okay. And why is that?
I mean, he's a rookie 5th rounder, and I think that he's only played in 4 games as well. But I mean, I don't know who else to consider the starter for the Browns in that context. Like, I guess I could go Watson. He's the injured guy waiting in the wings, I guess, but I don't know if he's ever coming back. So I think Shedeur slots in at the bottom here and is working his way up. I've seen worse quarterbacks in their first 4 games, but overall, I think the extent to which he kind of holds the ball and tries to create and ends up taking big losses downfield, there's just a really big detriment to his game right now, and it just results in too many like big negative plays right now. I think he's got a bigger arm than I kind of expected him to have coming out of Colorado, and I think he's got some pocket passer tendencies that can be good. I mean, he hasn't been a complete disaster or anything, but just given his overall draft stock and his athletic profile and some of the really low end plays that I've seen, I'm putting him in at the bottom here.
Logan, what do you think about that?
That is fascinating to me, because I thought there was a very obvious consensus number 32 quarterback. It is not Shedeur Sanders. I like Shedeur's traits. I agree with you, Theo. I think that Shedeur does have that one red flag quality, and it's the fact that he holds on to the ball for so long. And that's just such a detriment. And Shedeur is a guy that when I watch him play, Shedeur has this mentality where he thinks he can make every single guy miss. He like, when I watch him play, like, he really believes that he is capable of making any play back there. And I think it is positive sometimes, and it's to his negative. Last week, you saw him shake off Jeffrey Simmons, of all people, to create a big play in the red zone. Like, that was really impressive. There are also some other plays in that game where he scrambles backwards and loses 10 yards. Like, the traits are there, and that is why Shedeur's higher on my list. I just think he's more talented than other quarterbacks in the league. Like, you can't teach talent. And I was really impressed with what I saw from him against Tennessee. Granted, it's the Titans defense, so take with it what you will. But I've been impressed. He's got a much liver arm than Dillon Gabriel. He's way faster than Dillon Gabriel. He's just so much more exciting.
Yeah.
Like, Shedeur is just way more talented. So I'm not going to lie to you guys. This is probably going to be one of our bigger discrepancies on today. I have Shedeur at 26.
Okay.
I think Shedeur is not super polished. I do think he's got some things to clean up. But when I look at him talent-wise, I just think he's more talented than basically everybody that I have below him. And I know that's not the exact criteria of the list, but I like Shedeur, man. I'm rooting for him. I think he's going to figure it out. It is perfect time. Dude, he had first Browns quarterback, I think, maybe in franchise history, to have 350 yards and 3 TDs in a game, man. Like,
you're telling me Brian Sipe never did that? I find that hard to believe.
I'm just hoping Shedeur
Frank
can
Ryan never did that.
Some of them Browns QB demons. But yeah, Shedeur's at 26 for me. I'm shocked that we didn't all agree on who number 32 is, because there's a consensus guy for me.
We'll get there in a second. Well, you can't declare it the consensus just among yourself, Logan. That's not a consensus. That's
I think
the Logan
90% of NFL fans would agree.
I think you and I are probably going to agree. But I will meet you guys in the middle on Shedeur as the toothless Shedeur moderate that I am. I have him at 29. I think this bottom tier, obviously, all these guys are pretty much inhibiting your ability to, like, functionally run a solid team offense. But I do think, like Logan said, we've seen more pop from Shedeur than the bottom three. To me, we have seen one really good game from him. We've seen like one solid, pretty good game, you could argue. And then we've seen 2 really bad games. Like, the lows with him are as low as anybody, because that propensity to hold the ball, run backwards, try to evade pass rushers, end up taking a huge loss. Like, that is a problem that he has more glaringly than any other quarterback in the NFL, I would say, just specifically those bad sacks. And he's made some bad decisions, and he's completing 52% of his passes. Like, obviously, Shedeur still has so far to go to being a good NFL quarterback, but he does move pretty well. He is rather accurate. The arm is pretty good, and he is generating explosive plays for this Browns offense at a rate that, like, just did not exist before him. I mean, the stat was Dillon Gabriel didn't have a 30-yard completion all year, and Dillon Gabriel sucks. You know, Dillon Gabriel might be 40 on this list if we extended it out there. But Shedeur has clearly been an upgrade, and there's just more that I like with him. There's more that excites me, even right now, not viewing it as a long-term thing. Then, Logan, I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess who you have at number 32. Is it 9?
I do have 9 at 32.
Oh, 9.
I'll put him at 31. I'll put him at 31. And my difference, the difference between the two of them is that Shedeur has somehow just attracted more big negative plays than even JJ McCarthy. Like, there's explosive play rate, and then there's bust play rate, which is plays that are basically take point, like a full point off the board, like -1 EPA plays. And Shedeur has those at a rate of 31.5%. So that's almost a third of his plays are losing you a point of EPA, whether it be a big sack or one of his interceptions or whatever it is. JJ McCarthy is second worst in the league at 27.7%. So, like, honestly, like a fair bit better. Like, Shedeur has had a smaller sample size, so of course these rate plays are a little, can be wonky with him, and maybe that can normalize. But for him to be that high up is just like, man, it is him and 9 who are just giving you plays that offenses just like, or they themselves like just cannot overcome.
It's like the Will Levis plays from his tenure when he was starting, bro. You're just always waiting for that disaster. I think JJ McCarthy is just sucks. I mean, he stinks. McCarthy is one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen play. The most damning part of JJ McCarthy is his situation. The situation makes him look worse. Like, to the negative play thing, I would say JJ McCarthy has a Justin Jefferson. JJ McCarthy has a Kevin O'Connell. JJ McCarthy has the offensive line stinks this year. I can't act like it's a great situation, but like, every quarterback they have put with Justin Jefferson has figured it out. McCarthy wouldn't even be 32 for me. I'd take Wentz over him. I'd take Mac Jones. I'd take Jacoby Brissett.
Sure,
I'd take Joe
yeah.
For
Flacco.
sure.
I'd take Mason Rudolph.
But
I'd take
to be
Phillip
fair,
Rivers. I'd take
some
Tom
of those
Brady. I'd take Derek
names,
Carr. Yeah, dude. I think McCarthy.
Dan Marino.
McCarthy
Phillip Rivers has opened Pandora's box here.
Yeah.
I would take.
Get Otto Graham out
I would
there.
take Eli. I really would.
Yeah.
McCarthy's trash, bro.
That's reasonable, but okay. Also, like, I think Jacoby Brissett is better than several of the guys who we're going to talk about today. I think Mac Jones,
Agreed.
like, played better than a number of these guys.
You know?
This is where only going with one starter for each team does skew things a little bit, but I think JJ has been the worst of all the starters this year. And I hear you when it comes to the big time negative plays, Theo, and how Shedeur is statistically the worst in the NFL there. But JJ being that close in terms of disaster plays and not giving me the same bright spots, not giving me the same positives, not giving me the same explosives when he is in a better situation, like, I just think he's flat out awful. And I don't think that about Shedeur. I think Shedeur has so many areas he needs to improve, but there is not only a light at the end of the tunnel, there is some bright spots right now. I watched JJ McCarthy, and it's just depressing to me that the Vikings have invested so much in this guy when they're coming off a 14-win season, when they had Sam Darnold in-house, when this roster is so good in so many ways. This defense is so great. They have one of the best receiver talents to ever play the game. And Justin Jefferson, this guy who with every quarterback in his career has given you 100 yards a game. If it's Nick Mullins coming out there, even Wentz this year, who was bad too, with JJ McCarthy, he averages 47 yards per game. Like, that is just one of many very, very damning stats about JJ, who has the highest interception percentage in the NFL by far. It's like 5.5%. Next worst is Tua at 3.9%. So proportionally, that is a huge difference between him and the next worst player in terms of those interceptions. He's got the worst passer rating by far. It's at like 67. He is dead last in adjusted yards per attempt. And I just think in terms of every trait we can talk about, his pocket presence is frenetic. It's non-existent. He is hectic back there. His decision-making is bad. His accuracy is some of the worst in the NFL. Like, there is nothing that JJ McCarthy does at a passable level. So I do have him at 32. Yeah. Like, dude, some of the stats we were seeing earlier this year, and I'm making this up, but there was literally stuff like this. It was like, out of 1,836 quarterbacks in the database since 2000, JJ McCarthy is 1,836th in whatever EPA per play. Like, all these different stats.
He was only ahead
of all-time bad.
Jamarcus.
He was in Jamarcus talks, bro. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm with you that there's nothing he does well at all. He doesn't throw on time. He's either frenetic in the pocket or he just stands there. Like, it's one of those two.
And that's where you want to be. You want to be on those extreme sides of pocket navigation and presence. Yeah. All right. Should we move on to your number 31, Logan, because we know that Theo's bottom two now. Who has that honor?
This is going to sound absolutely crazy. I understand it. I'm going to piss a lot of people off with this one. I have Tua in my spot, bro. I think I just don't want Tua on my team. Like, that's my justification. I get that they've won 5 straight games. I could go, if the contract, and, like, I do think Tua's like the worst quarterback on one of those kind of gargantuan contracts. I do think that's a fact. I also think Tua's really propped up by his situation, and it's kind of hard to ignore that. Like, he has, I think, a genius offensive mind in a head coach. He's got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle when they're at full strength. I know he hasn't been out there, but he's got A-Chain. He's got a really good offensive infrastructure around him. Literally, maybe the fastest offense in NFL history. And so I really think that context is important when you're talking about Tua. And don't get me wrong, this is kind of a logical fallacy because I think I would take Tua over some of these guys if it was a one-game format in terms of his polish compared to some of these younger quarterbacks. I hate Tua's tools. In an important big game, I know what Tua is going to give me. 2 crucial bone-crushing, soul-crushing interceptions. He's not going to be able to evade any kind of pressure. He doesn't have a live arm, and he can't play in the cold. So this is really like I think Tua just has like one of the lowest ceilings, and he's got one of the lowest floors. And if he didn't have these kind of special talents around him offensively, I think Tua would look a lot worse. So, like, I know he's not the 31st quarterback in the NFL. I just don't think I think he's turnover prone.
That's always great when you rank a guy somewhere and you say, I know that he shouldn't be ranked here.
I know he shouldn't be this low in terms of his polish.
You're making a statement.
There's nothing that Tua does that That's why I want Shedeur more. Shedeur makes you go, yo! Look at what Shedeur just did. Tua makes me go, ugh. Oh my God. Like,
this is pure hating. This is actually straight hating.
I just hate watching Tua play, and I think he stinks, and he doesn't excite me. And the guy shouldn't be playing football, bro. He's got mashed potatoes for brain. Tua, go home.
Okay. That was, I would argue, more than borderline insensitive. That was flat out insensitive. But this is generally a safe space for Tua hate when you keep it purely to his football abilities. I mean, I think last year we probably all pissed some people off with how low we had Tua then. And he has certainly fallen lower and lower in the eyes of the people. Theo, where does Tua fall on your list?
We'll get there, but it's not too much lower than this. I mean, he's somebody who I don't think he really reads coverage. I think he just like trusts things are going to be open and throws it. And that's why he routinely has the worst picks in the NFL year in and year out. Like I've done my interception reviews at the end of the year and grade all of these interceptions. And like, it is yearly that I just don't know what Tua is looking at. Yeah. And I need a quarterback who can create a little bit in 2025. Like it really, the more you can create, the more it is like getting an extra skill position guy, to be honest. It's almost like playing 12 on 11 for a defense when you've got a quarterback who can really move around. And Tua is just the antithesis of this. He threw a pick at the end of the Bills game, right, early in the season, and everybody broke it down. Like, what was he looking at here? Because it went right to somebody. It went right to Terrell Bernard.
Yeah,
he jumped the hitch route, and should he have read the flat defender? Or should he have thrown this? Is it just a scheme thing? And it's like, for me, my takeaway on that play was like, well, the left guard or the right guard lost immediately. Deone Walker like swam him and was into his face. And that's what sped up his decision making. Look, if it's Herbert, if it's anybody that I have in my top 10, they like pump fake Walker and just make him miss. Like truly that's what they do. And with Tua, it's like, I got to throw it right now. Under pressure, I'm just throwing up this meatball. And it doesn't really have to do with his reads or like what he should have seen. Like, yeah, man, there's pressure. It's on the right guard a little bit. But that's what I'm talking about with my criteria is like, he is somebody who I think has been in a really ideal situation and put up great numbers, but like
he's a limiter.
He is a limiter. So I don't have him that low because like, I don't know, there's some timing and some accuracy stuff that's okay with him, but I'm with you overall.
Yeah, I think big picture, we've all been on this side because we can't forget. I mean, it was just a couple years ago, 2022, 2023, where people were not just forcing Tua into top 10 talks, but like some people were saying fringe
Herbert,
top 5, MVP conversations, like all these crazy, crazy things. Tua has regressed though. And I think part of the reason for that is he's one of the easiest quarterbacks for defenses to figure out in the NFL. And it's exactly what you laid out, Theo. Like everybody knows his limitations at this point. And I would argue that he is as dependent as any quarterback in the NFL on predetermining his reads, on throwing to a spot with the expectation that guy is going to get open. And if that doesn't happen, like you said, there are these catastrophic picks. I think that's part of the reason why 13 of his interceptions this year, and he leads the league with 14 picks, have come against zone. Like defenses are just getting a beat on him. And when you get pressure, he has this horrible tendency to not have that ability to make a play and just put the ball in harm's way because he's predetermined the throw he's going to make, or he just entirely fails to see a defender, or just because of his arm being weak, sometimes he'll just float up this horribly underthrown ball. And the downside with him, therefore, the low lights, like it's all so bad. But even the stuff that he used to be really good at, he's gotten worse at. Like Tua's thing used to be he's super good over the middle of the field on those intermediate throws, right? Like 2022, he was second in EPA per dropback on intermediate throws. This year, he's 23rd even there. Like, I just think defenses have figured him out, and he doesn't have any way to counter that because he is so limited at his core. And if you look at the Dolphins offense that has now found this rhythm and they're winning games, obviously it doesn't mean anything. They're beating shitty teams, but whatever. This was a team that looked like they might be contending for the number 1 overall pick early in the year, and now they're 6-7. They have found more success by going away from him more, Theo.
Bladen. That's going to be the tweet. That's going to be the Bladen tweet.
You think Blaine tweets about our show? No way. He's only doing
No.
that to get cold hard cash in his own grubby little paws.
Yep.
No, I will. I'll just tag Bladen. It'll be my tweet.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
6,
I mean,
7.
Tua, there was a game against the Chargers a couple years ago when Staley threw him into disarray by playing cover 2, by jamming the receivers and disrupting the timing that way and putting safeties over the top for the Tyreek go balls. And ever since that game, they've seen disproportionate levels of cover 2 compared to other teams in the league. And if you play kind of an invert and maybe put your corner in the deep half and put the safety in the middle of the field, like Tua often doesn't see that safety and throws it right to him. That has been the key to stopping Tua, are these disguised cover 2 looks where you get these jams on the receivers, or you get somebody in the flat and also bracket the sideline and also get somebody he doesn't expect lurking in the middle. He'll throw you one.
So he's a limited arm talent.
Yeah,
he can't read a defense.
He sucks.
Can't create.
Hold on. I have more negatives. Again, as they've gone more away from him. I mean, he's down to 185 passing yards a game this year, 6.8 yards per attempt. Like, these numbers are way down for him. 27.
He embarrasses himself
air
at the
yards per
podium.
attempt. Yes, everything is bad. Thank God they have Achane because he's a baller. But Logan, it's what you were saying. Like, the dudes below him are all either like very, very young, rookie in their second year, or just god awful. And with Tua, I do at least have accuracy, timing, an ability to execute an offense in that way.
Like, my thing is
bad.
You
but
guys
like,
tell me if you disagree.
Justin Fields, man, are you gonna have Justin Fields?
I
Above
actually feel like in a game against I feel like he gives me a better chance to win against.
I watched Justin Fields have a game that he played the entirety of, and they finished with negative net passing yards.
Dude, I think that all these guys suck. Like,
Yeah.
let me be clear about that. But like, I think in a big spot, I, as an offensive coordinator, with a base offense, would rather gimmick up an offense around Justin Fields and us. He's just I get it.
I have
get
to
it.
disagree.
This year was
Teams
horrible.
have successfully gimmicked an offense around Tua. Nobody
People
has
have
ever
gimmicked
successfully gimmicked an offense
the
around
Steelers in
Justin
6
Fields.
games last year figured out how to do it. Like,
I mean,
and I get that I'm holding on to that, man. I get
Tua
it.
led an offense that averaged like 29 points per game,
And
and
then
again,
they
he
figured
sucked,
him
and
out.
he was a
And then they
beneficiary
figured
of a
him
great
out.
situation.
And Tua has sucked
He
ever
sucked.
since.
Justin Fields sucks more,
Yes,
though.
he does
Clearly.
too. Justin Fields does suck. Justin Fields can evade an edge rusher.
And he can't make a simple read or
I get
throw
it, bro.
downfield.
Could he get Tyreek to
under
1,800
70
yards or whatever he had?
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
Fields
Justin
is not
Fields can't
good.
throw for 1,800 yards himself in a whole
We're
season.
comparing shit to shit.
We are, and I don't know why we're getting so animated about it, but that's why this episode is so great.
Shut up and kiss me already.
I will. Okay. Theo, who do you have at number 30?
Justin Fields.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, he's at number 29 for me. I have one guy sandwiched between the two.
Yeah.
I mean,
Justin
watching
Fields
the
so
London
well?
game and watching Kurt Warner like beg him to throw the football is a good just encapsulation of how I feel about Justin Fields. Like, throw it. The crosser is right across your face. It's there. There's no one in front of him. They have their hand up. He's like looking in the crowd.
Yeah.
He's looking at the concessions prices and shocked at what they say.
Whoa, what's that currency? That's different than what we have at home. Yeah, he leads to a level of anemia from a passing offense that is like actually remarkable. And I feel like we haven't seen in a while. Like, obviously he's a great runner, but he cannot read a defense. He cannot hang in the pocket. He cannot make accurate throws downfield. That's why he averages 140 passing yards a game as a starter, dude. There was the game where he had negative net passing yards that we were just talking about. There was another game he played the entirety of, and he finished with under 50 net passing yards. He played most of the Bills game and had 8 net passing yards and went 3 for 11. Like, he's always taken a ton of sacks too.
Yeah.
It's a shame because he is a physical talent, and he might be the worst quarterback ever to be as physically talented as
Fields,
he is.
At this point, I mean, my take before the year, and I've been a Justin Fields optimist. I said before the year I thought he was going to play well enough this year for the Jets to justify banking on him being the starter moving forward. Fields is at this point, I consider him, they would need to make him a gimmick guy. I got a Cordell Stewart jersey on. I'm serious. The only way I think Justin Fields is viable is if you make him
Triple
a gadget
option.
guy, hand him the ball off as a running back, do some, like, break him out 3-4 plays a game and do some trick stuff with him. Like,
Taysom Hill.
yeah. Literally. I think that's what you would have to do with him at this point. You know, a fake screen pass where they don't know he's on the field and he catches it and it's a double pass. You know, like it would all have to be stuff like that, or he's just a backup. You know, it is really telling. And again, I've been optimistic about Justin Fields. It's really telling when they put Tyrod Taylor in a game and Tyrod Taylor starts moving the ball in 2025. The guy was drafted in 2011, for Christ's sakes, man. Like,
in the 6th round.
Yeah, it tells you really everything that you need to know when that happens. So, yeah, I'm not super high on Fields. That being said, I value his mobility enough to have him over another guy that's very similar to Tua, unfortunately.
I just think the passing limitations are so severe that, like, the Jets offense is completely incompetent when he's on the field. Like, some of those numbers, you can't even believe in the big 2025 when it's like, we actually cannot throw for 50 net passing yards
I will
in
say,
a game.
And I put this on Fields' shoulders, of course. The one difference, I think, from this year and why he's had so much less success with the Jets, I think the Jets really tried to use him as a drop-back passer. And again, this is damning on Fields and why he is so low. He is incapable of playing as a drop-back passer. The reason he found so much success was every play with the Steelers, they would run play action with Jalen Warren or something and force the linebackers in the line to at least think, like, is he going to run the ball? Is he going to, like, obviously it's a big part of his game, but it's like the Steelers, I thought, were able to successfully gimmick up the offense to a point to help him. Unfortunately, that is what you have to do to make Justin Fields successful as a quarterback, and that puts a really hard floor and ceiling on your football team with him at quarterback. So, I mean, like, he's not a starter. Fields is bad.
My stat is he's bottom 10 in adjusted net yards per attempt since 2000 of players with, like, a large enough sample size. He's 10th. He's sandwiched between Derek Anderson and Chad Henne.
Ooh, anything is possible. Actually, I thought he might be among a little worse company down that low.
Well, he's bottom 3 in success rate too.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Yeah.
So
the one thing you can say
some
about
big plays are propping him up.
He doesn't throw a lot of picks. That's something, but it's because he doesn't ever throw the ball
accurately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He throws it too far away from the defender to even have a chance. I do have one guy between 9 and Fields. In my 31 spot, I have Tyler Shough. I just haven't seen enough to be moved any higher than this with him. I like his size. I like how he moves. I mean, that white boy was scooting last week for sure. And I will say, he's done nothing catastrophically bad this year, right? He hasn't generated those big negative plays at the rate that McCarthy or Shedeur has. But I do think that I've seen more big plays from Shedeur, and other than the size and, like, the pretty good mobility, I just don't see it with Shough in terms of the arm being underwhelming, the accuracy being inconsistent, the processing being like the pocket presence. I just think he looks like a backup. I don't think that he is a quarterback who is particularly bad in any one given way, like we can talk about with Fields and his, like, severe passing limitations. But also with Fields, at least I do know that, he is a really good runner. He will keep turnovers low. Shough, I just see a lot of stuff where I'm like, that's a D+, C- trait. Are you guys higher on Shough?
I actually don't have
a little bit.
I don't have Shough. I actually have Spencer Rattler on my list.
Oh, okay. I think Rattler's a little bit better. It's pretty close.
I don't think there's a big gap. I have Rattler one spot above Fields at 28. He just had those really two bad games, so, like, he ends on a sour note. Like, if you could just take the first, I was really impressed with Rattler. I've never been high on him, but I thought he was really accurate. I thought he was really good at making throws on the run. I liked how he showcased his mobility a little bit. Like, I don't know, Rattler impressed me at the beginning of this year, and I think he just had a couple of really bad games where he just turned the ball over a bunch. And I know that leaves a sour taste in people's mouth, but he's just more exciting than Shough. Yeah, like, I know Shough had a really good game. That's the best game played by a Saints quarterback 2 weeks ago, all season long. But he's just, man, he's a bland piece of bread, man. He just don't do it for me. Like, Rattler excites me a little bit. There's a little wiggle to his game. There's a little, like, self-creation. I just like Rattler. They're both not very good, but
I like
Rattler comes in at 28 for me.
I like Rattler more. I am right now purely ranking on who is the starter. Like, since the Saints have decided Shough is the starter for the year, I'm like, all right, I'll abide by that. But I've been pro Rattler in this debate versus Shough all year. Theo, where do you land on the Shuckster, 26-year-old rookie Tyler Shough?
I like Shough. I think I have him a little bit higher, maybe at like 27 or something like that. I think
Okay.
he's got a good blend of speed and size, and I do think his arm is better than you're giving it credit for. I think the pocket presence has been questionable. I think even though he doesn't hold the ball as long, or it maybe isn't as dynamic as a runner, he still takes more sacks than Rattler. So he's a bit of a he can be a bit of a sitting duck back there. I think for edge rushers, they're probably licking their chops looking at Tyler Shough right now, just like a big. He's looking like a giraffe, and you're like a lion or something. Like he's just looking like maybe he's not going to be able to escape me right now. But I do think that overall, I'm impressed with the completion percentage. I'm impressed with some of the high end throws that he's made. I'm impressed with his rushing touchdowns last week. I think there's something there with him where like one day he could develop into a pretty interesting kind of pocket passer with the kind of his size and mobility. But right now, it's definitely a very underbaked product.
Yeah. So who is at 29 for you then, Theo?
It's got to be Geno, unfortunately. My biggest
Oh.
miss from the last ranking that we did when I said that he's somebody who's elevating a bad situation, and I still believe that was true in Seattle. I just think he's washed now. Honestly, I don't think his arm is as big as it was. I think his release has gotten slower. He's gotten way less elusive. He's in a terrible situation, no doubt. Since Colton Miller went down, they just have absolutely no hope. But I mean, he doesn't seem to understand leverage. It's like he's a completely different player. Like he throws into leverage. The picks he's throwing are worse. He's just not reading the field on top of being just athletically not the same as he used to be. So at this point, it's a little bit like Tua, where it's like, what is it that you're good at? You're throwing horrible picks. You're not really a mobile guy. Yeah, it's just very, very sad.
Call me crazy. I'm still not ready to bail on Geno like you, Theo. I don't know, man. Carson, are you with me?
Well, look,
I mean, like, don't
everybody
get me
knows
wrong.
I hold some of the most
do.
Geno Smith plushie stock, and I don't know why I said some of. I own 99% of the total inventory in the United States. Am I riding the dip? Yes. Of course, Geno has been bad this year. Geno has fallen considerably on my list, but he has not fallen this far. Logan, where are you at with Geno? Where does he land on your list?
This may sound crazy. Geno's at number 20 for me. Like, I know Geno he's fallen. He's a top 10 guy to me before the season started. Last time we ranked these quarterbacks, I think the Raiders situation is just so catastrophically bad that, like, here's the one thing I don't want to forget about Geno. And I agree, Theo. I think Geno has regressed. But, like, I just think the Raiders situation is so bad.
Yeah.
He was
It's
number
comical.
10 in total yards per game by a quarterback from 22 to 24 with Seattle. And he accounted for 76% of Seattle's total offense over that time period. And I just can't take that for granted. And, like, that's the one thing with Geno is I feel like his touchdown numbers don't really do him justice when you look back at Seattle for how much of the offensive impact he was giving them, because, you know, he would get routinely sniped. Like, he was just so important to propping that offense up. And so I agree he's been bad this year. Some of these games have been just like quicksand where he throws a pick early and just melts down. I think the offensive line is the worst in the NFL.
Yeah.
I think the receiving talent has been underwhelming, and Brock Bowers has been injured for a lot of this season. And Chip Kelly is the worst fucking offensive coordinator in the league. And so it's just like,
Not anymore. He's fired.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Screw you, Chip Kelly, you bum. Geno, the highest paid offensive coordinator in the league, and he's calling plays that don't exist reportedly, bro. Get out of here.
Yeah.
So the more and more I think about it, I think they made Geno the freaking fall guy, man. So I don't put all this on Geno. Geno has been bad this year, but, like, when I think about it, the way Theo was talking about at the beginning of the episode, when I still think of these guys on a talent level, I just can't bail on Geno, man. So maybe this is the sunken cost fallacy, and I'm digging my nails in deeper here. Geno, I can't fully give up on you, man.
I have Geno at 22, but I do think, Theo, you're being a little too harsh on him. And I think we all come from the place of being, like, previously big Geno believers, optimists, and obviously have all had to come to terms with some serious regression here. But, like, Tyler Shough above him, man, I just think that's kind of crazy. Like, if you put Tyler Shough in Vegas, would they complete a pass? Because my takeaway for the most part is Geno has regressed in some of these really difference-making areas, because his thing has always been, I am willing to hang in the pocket, and I have the arm talent and the accuracy and the aggression to make some of these big-time throws into tight windows. And when he starts slipping, and when he becomes a little bit shakier in the pocket, and when the accuracy isn't quite as good, and the decision-making goes a little bit too far in that aggressive direction, this is where you have all these things where the turnovers have been so much worse this year. Although I will say, I also saw a stat a couple weeks ago where I believe Geno Smith had 14 turnover-worthy plays on the year as deemed by PFF, and he had 14 turnovers on the year. So that speaks to some pretty bad luck there too. But even though he's clearly gotten worse, and when he does have a chance to make a play, he is not doing so at nearly the same rate as he was last year and as he was over the last few years in Seattle. For the most part, I just don't think he has a chance. I watch the Raiders offense, and I think this might be the worst offensive line I have ever seen. They are absolutely horrific in pass protection. And what is just as horrible is the fact that they have to be a pass-heavy offense because their run game is not just the worst in the NFL, it's the worst in the NFL by so far, dude. They average 3.4 yards per attempt on the ground. They average 72 rushing yards per game. That's 12 fewer than any other team in the NFL. That's with obviously the investment that they made in Ashton Genty. So you get to a spot where it's like, if they hand the ball off, it's essentially a wasted play because it is very likely to just go nowhere. He literally had an OC, as you said, Logan, who was calling imaginary plays for him. And when they do drop back to pass, he's almost instantly under pressure, and his receiving core after Brock Bowers is bad. So he hasn't handled that pressure well. That's the thing. Geno used to be a guy who, with a bad offensive line, like he had in Seattle, a bad run game in Seattle, he could manage that pressure. He could make those big-time throws inside the pocket. This year, he's got the 4th highest interception percentage of any qualified quarterback. Pocket presence hasn't been as good, right? He's clearly slipped significantly. And I think part of the reason we can say that is the Vegas situation is like comically bad, but Seattle was also a bad offensive situation that he was elevating. That was the reality, and he cannot do that. He was a genuinely awesome pocket passer. He's been a tough watch this year. But just compared to the guys below him, he's shown me so much more in recent years, and the situation is so extremely bad that I have to have him above these guys, because it's like situation can change so much in the NFL. And yes, a lot can change in a year or two, especially for a quarterback who's 34 like Geno. But do I believe he's gotten that much worse to where I would drop him in my bottom 5? Or do I believe he's in a situation that very few quarterbacks in the NFL could make look tenable? I'm like caught between the two, but enough towards the latter where I'm still going to have him above these bums below him.
Carson, what yards per carry did you say they were averaging this season?
3.4.
They are tied 21st in least rushing yards per attempt by an offense since 2000. Yards per game, the 2025 Raiders rank as the 6th worst in rushing yards per game since 2000.
Crazy. It's absolutely
like legitimately crazy. one of the worst rushing offenses since 2000. That's like, I do want to just speak to like how shitty the infrastructure. I mean, I think Pete Carroll's got to be gone after this year. I think you need to hit the full reboot.
I feel like I'm watching a senile old man. I'm like thinking about Pete Carroll crunching the numbers on like a 4th down decision, like looking at the analytics, and I'm like, he doesn't know what he's looking at. He's got to be at home with his kids, grandkids, hot cocoa in hand, good night moon. That's the Pete Carroll vibe. And maybe some would say we should send Geno into the sunset in the same way. I think if you put him in a better situation, he'd look better. Maybe he's not going to get that situation, though, because the Raiders just paid him
on Minnesota.
This is
They're
what
a contender.
You know what, Logan? Fuck yeah, they are. Hell yeah, they are. You give him Jettas, you give him KOC, you better believe Geno's making a little magic there. What do you think, Theo, before we move on real quick? Is it too much Geno apologizing from us, or are you buying back in a little? Are you starting to think, hold on a second?
You're right about the situation. I mean, they drafted some rookie offensive linemen that, like, the quotes that are leaked are like, we actually can't play this guy. It would be disrespectful to the veterans to even let him develop on the field. He's so bad.
Mhm.
They are twice as inefficient as the 2nd worst rushing team. So it does not surprise me that they're all time bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Genty's a good running back, and if you looked at the stats, you'd think this is the most egregious bust ever taken, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think that he would be that if it was a better line. So I do think that Geno has plenty of excuses, but I also think like physically he's not the same. And by the time he's out of this situation, like it could be worse. I don't know. He's not someone I would take very high right now.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that you can make unlimited excuses for him. I mean,
And I
Bowers has
will.
been hurt. Jacoby Myers gets traded. It's just a bunch
Yeah.
of rookies out there, and a horrible offensive line and a play caller, like you said, that was like completely in over his head. So
The
it doesn't get
Broncos
much worse than
game
that.
was so depressing. And obviously it's the Broncos defense. They're amazing, but it's just like Geno drops back and immediately Nick Bonito is winning. And there's multiple defenders in his lap. And it's just like, what is he supposed to do? But I certainly have him above my number 29, who is Shedeur. Logan, your number 29 is?
My 29 was Justin Fields, my 30. And I like this guy. I think I'm just kind of out on him moving forward. I have Michael Penix in this spot, and it's not really that I think Michael Penix is really this bad, but like when I think about him up against somebody like Tua, I just think he's like a slightly better version of Tua. I think his arm is just a little bit more live, but like I said, man, I'm just kind of out on him. Like I think he's extremely immobile. I think that's going to get even worse now that he suffered another lower leg injury. He is injury prone. And the thing that Tua even has over a guy like Michael Penix, I think Penix's arm is a little bit liver. Penix can have these just inaccuracy spells where he's off for an entirety of a game. And so it's like, I actually think Penix is probably more talented than this in a little, like, again, if you compared him to someone like Fields in a one-game scenario, he definitely gives you a much better chance to win as a pocket passer, but I just don't think he's that good anymore, and I think his ceiling is so incredibly low moving forward. He's an older quarterback who, again, has been injured a bunch, who isn't that accurate. Like, he just hasn't really put it on tape this year to justify really, I think, being above the bottom 6 quarterbacks on this list. So put him where you want. I think he belongs in the bottom 6, and I'm just, again, probably out on him moving forward. So I do prefer some of the consistency that I've gotten from some of these less talented guys higher on my list. And I like the upside and the physical traits and talent of some of the younger quarterbacks on this list. So maybe like his play warrants being higher. I'm just not really that high on Penix anymore. And I think he's just not that good, man. I'm disappointed. I was really hopeful that Penix would be the guy for Atlanta, but it looks like Atlanta just went 0 for 2 in that offseason, man. But it was like, they go in on, they split, they hedge their bets. They don't put all their eggs in one basket. They draft Penix high and they sign Kirk to this deal. And it turns out both of them just blow.
Theo, where do you have Penix?
I think I'd probably have Geno is my 29, right? I'd
Yeah.
probably put Shough at 28, maybe, or maybe Penix at 28, and then somewhere Shough and Penix would be kind of back to back here. And Penix, I mean, he's torn his ACL again, and he tore it twice in college, and he's already so stiff as a thrower. And I think that it gets to the point where even as he's reading the field, like his feet can't even come with him. Like he gets his upper and lower half all like twisted up because he's that stiff in the lower body, and then his accuracy gets all thrown off because his body is contorted, and he just sprays way too many passes and just is not mobile enough for me. I think his arm is absolutely crazy, and I think he's made some really high-end throws like piercing zone coverages in the intermediate and deep ranges. Like there's some stuff to get excited about, but at this point he's just like too stiff and injury prone. He's like he's not that interesting to me as a full-time starter going forward.
No, and if I were factoring in health, I mean, Penix would definitely have major red flags. They're as big as you can. My list is purely how good do I think you are when you're on the field. I have him at number 27 right now. I think his arm is very strong, and that allows him to make like a wow thrower to a game, but he's so inconsistent. His accuracy can be brutal. Stiff is the perfect way to put it, Theo, and that affects every aspect of his game. Mechanics are inconsistent. Like, there's really not much to like with Penix. The guys I have below him, though, like, I mean, it's the tier that we've already talked about. They're all so erratic or so inexperienced that just like, I do feel like Penix is at least more dependable than them. And Penix has some good games. Like, I don't think he's a catastrophically bad quarterback, but like you guys are saying, he's doing very, very little that impresses me or that I can buy in on right now. So I have him at 27.
Actually, I'll flip him in Fields for the one time.
I like it for the one time. So then who comes in your next spot, Logan, at 28?
28 is where I had Spencer Rattler marked down.
Right. Okay. So in my 28 spot, I have a guy who I actually believe is very, very talented. And I'm imagining you guys, the trait fiends that you are, the physical trait fiends that you are, probably going to have him a little bit higher. I have Cam Ward here. I think Cam Ward is going to be good. I think Cam Ward is going to be better than a number of guys who I have above him. And I think the Cam Ward experience is already crazy. I mean, you look at some of the numbers and they're pretty ugly, right? 59% completion percentage, 5.6 yards per attempt, just 9 touchdowns against 7 picks. But then you look at some of like the best moments from Cam Ward and they're like unbelievably impressive. Just some of the individual plays. He has got a cannon. He can vary his arm angles. He can launch it on the move, and he is aggressive as hell. And as we were talking about, like, this is something that I generally love. Guys who have big arms and who are willing to test those tight windows and make the sort of difference-making throws that are necessary sometimes to make a play, right? We talk about NFL being a tight window league where dudes aren't always going to come noticeably open. Like, you've got to create a throw sometimes. Cam Ward can absolutely do that. But then there's also that line of not wanting to be too aggressive, which Geno, right, has crossed this year. Where, okay, he's tested some windows he just shouldn't. I think Cam Ward is on that side of the line right now. And I think that's something that can be harnessed, improved upon. He'll strike that balance for sure. But right now, as a rookie, I think he tries some pretty crazy throws that are a little bit too risky, a little bit too low percentage. He also really holds on to that football. He takes the most sacks in the NFL, and the offensive line is terrible. Like, this is another guy who's in a really bad offensive situation. Awful run game, bad receivers. Head coach got fired 6 games into the year and was just like doing comically badly in the court of public opinion, at least, and in the eyes of the franchise. But nevertheless, like, the sacks do fall a good bit on Cam Ward, and he just has major, major steps that he needs to take still. Like, his athletic gifts are impressive. The situation is so bad, and he has shown me more high-level stuff than the guys below him, even if the lows with him have still been low and the numbers look ugly and all of that. But the lows have been low. There's been plenty of lows, and he's just too inconsistent for me to have him higher than this. You know, if you wanted to say, hey, drop him in the Falcons, he'd be better than Penix, I would believe that. And that's why I have these guys in back-to-back spots. But it's been erratic, to say the least, with Cam. But again, big picture, I like him. Where are you guys with Cam?
I like Cam too, and I agree with a lot of what you said. He is in one of the toughest situations, I think, in football, and the biggest thing he needs to clean up are rookie mistakes like game and clock management, like you're talking about negative mistakes. Cam is also one of those guys like Shedeur that Cam thinks he can shake any tackler, any guy that breaks into the backfield. He has got this kind of playmaker gene where he's like, I can shake you off. And he has led to some crazy moments this year where he's stiff-arming guys and planting them in the ground and then hucking the ball 40 yards downfield. It's this balance to strike. And so I see the glimpses of superstar talent with Cam. Everything he needs to clean up, though, is the little things, the really important things to winning on a down-to-down basis instead of just making these big-time shot plays. The general accuracy concerns, too, the mechanics. But he's still super skilled and so unbelievably talented. So I have him in my number 25 spot, where everyone below him, I really do feel is just like, just not as talented as Cam, where I feel like if you put him in a better spot where he had a better offensive line, a better running game, and could simplify his role, he would look better. So I believe in his talent. I would understand if you took some of these other guys who are more polished and pro-ready above him, but I just like his ability. So Cam's at 25 for me.
I'm right with you, Carson. Cam was my next guy.
Okay, perfect. So then, Logan, who is your next guy?
In my number 27 spot is one of those more physically limited guys, and he's had a much better year. Bryce has actually improved his stock. I have Bryce in my number 27 spot. He's just so physically limited, and he doesn't excite me. Like, I've been impressed with Bryce this year. Some of the late game stuff he's done with Tet. Had some big moments in these last couple of games with Coker. I I think Bryce is more consistent than Cam at this spot. And so, like, again, if it was a one-game format, that being said, though, I am thinking, like, if you put Cam in Carolina with this kind of running game, would he be successful? Maybe. You know, it's not like Bryce is doing a lot of the heavy lifting in this Carolina offense. The reason this offense is good is because of Dave Canales, this offensive line, and their ability to pound the ball between the tackles. So I think Bryce is an average starting quarterback to a backup. He's not exciting. That's why he's not higher. I think he probably gives you a higher floor than the next three guys on my list. That being said, he is so physically limited. I really think the ceiling just isn't as high as some of these other guys that they can give me. And he's just physically limited. So I think Bryce can get a little bit better. I just think he's a below average starter at his best.
Theo, where are you with Bryce?
I've got him a little bit higher than this. I think that Bryce is interesting. I have him and Purdy really close together, which we'll get to, which is funny because one of them is like the most efficient quarterback ever, and the other is the least efficient quarterback ever.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think Bryce is really light and small and can get kind of brought down with one hand, and that's a big issue for him. Where like kind of these blow by pass rush attempts, where most quarterbacks might be able to duck under the contact or be able to kind of rotate their shoulders and shake it off, like Bryce goes down in those moments.
Yeah.
But you can see that he's kind of compensated for that over the course of his career with some really unworldly poise at times and some really unworldly feel of the pocket. You see these flashes, and I think the feel with some of the accuracy that he's got makes him somewhat useful, but he's definitely too limited an athlete to play in really bad weather, to survive in a really tight pocket. If any of those offensive linemen are losing, Bryce is probably going down. He's relegated to check downs more than he probably should be. He's got, I don't have him too much higher, but I do have him higher. I have Tua here at this next spot. That's where I ended up slotting him in.
I actually have Bryce and Tua one spot apart. I have Bryce at 24. I have Tua at 25. And I feel like there's a lot of similarities there, just in terms of like the same strengths being touch and accuracy, and then them having these same like very obvious physical limitations. I mean, with Bryce, it comes down to just being so small. I think the arm is a huge limiting factor for both of them, though, and a reason that Bryce sometimes has these really ugly picks where it's like, man, you just can't get it there on an out, and it's
Bryce
easily
has
undercut.
Less of a bozo gene and more of an ability
Totally
to read the field to me than Tua.
I agree. I also think that Bryce hangs tougher in the pocket. I don't think he gets as like totally overwhelmed and freaked out there. But big picture, I think they both fall into this zone of guys who can execute an offense, who can throw with anticipation and touch and good timing when things are on schedule, when things are good around them, but who melt down pretty quickly as things fall apart around them, as things get really hard because they have these limitations. And it's like Bryce is always good to give you a really good game just when you think you're out. I talk about this phenomenon a lot, but it's very real. Like right after a stretch of really bad Bryce games, he'll step up. And, you know, he had the game where he threw for 400 and something yards just a few weeks ago. And it's been a better stretch from him. Big picture, though, if you always look at kind of like the bottom line results, where are we really at over the course of the season? I do think he's one of the more limited starters in the NFL, but I am higher on him than you are, Logan, just because, like, again, when I look at the bottom 5-6 guys, I'm like, can you even execute an NFL offense right now? And I'm not convinced. And Bryce can do that more so, even though absolutely Carolina's success has mostly come on the back of putting together that run game. All right, man, you know. You're hating on the little guys. You're hating on a little guy with a little bit of whimsy. And me personally, I take issue with that as an advocate for short kings everywhere. So we need my 26. I have Jaxson Dart here. You guys both have him higher. That's interesting. I think that Jaxson Dart is solid. I mean, 64% completion this year, 11 touchdowns, 3 picks, 6.8 yards per attempt. Just like a very solid statistical profile there. Obviously, his legs are really good. That's like his trait right now. He's top 5 in rushing yards among quarterbacks, and that's even with the time that he's missed. He's top 3 in rushing touchdowns. I think that is a very good trait. And I think compared to the other rookies, if we talk about Cam Ward, Shedeur, or a de facto rookie like JJ McCarthy. Like, I just think he's delivered the most dependable results, even as the situation has not been easy. I think his legs have given him a floor, like just that kind of athleticism that he has. But when I compare him to like a lot of these more proven starter guys, I just think his accuracy is below average. I think his arm is solid, but just that, I do think he takes too many sacks. I think that in terms of processing, he very much feels like a rookie. So he was able to lead a functional offense for the Giants as a rookie, even as dudes went down, even as you lose neighbors. Like, that was impressive. But the reality is most rookie quarterbacks suck. That's why I can be like, I believe in Cam Ward's talent, and yet I still think he's worse than so many of these guys right now. Dart has been able to give himself a higher floor. I also don't think his ceiling is as high as like a Cam Ward's, but he's still a rookie quarterback. And therefore, I still think a lot of these guys, in terms of the mental aspects of the game, the consistency, are all just getting him there. Where do you guys fall on Dart?
I have him at 24, and it might be too high. It might be too high because for everything good that he does, it just gets so unwound by his injury, like, proneness. And I'm going to call him injury prone. I know that he just had the one concussion, but going back to preseason, every single game, I see him wobbly. I see him tweak his knee. I see him sustain a concussion. He's in the blue medical tent or something. He lands on his shoulder and is like stretching it out. And it's like, you need that to throw, dude. And I just feel like for every good thing that he does, it just gets completely, it gets negated by how reckless he is. And then I'm not really sure what he does at a really, really high level. I don't think he's the craziest athlete, even as a runner. I think he makes up for that with his just grit when he runs. But ideally, he'd be so smooth and fluid that he doesn't take on as much contact, right? So I think he can get a bit overrated as a runner, but I've been impressed with his deep ball this year. I've been impressed with some of the stats he's put up without Malik Neighbors. I thought they'd be the worst offense in the league after he went down. I was like, what is just preventing them from playing man and blitzing Dart and just killing everything, like it being just an unmitigated Josh Rosen type of disaster? But it really hasn't been that, because in the chaos of the blitzes, he's been pretty good getting the ball out. I think he's had better command pre-snap than I thought. And overall is just managing a really shitty situation better than I thought. I'm not sure if there's anything that really, really stands out to me about him where he'll be like, oh, he's Josh Allen. Like, that was Daboll's hope, right? Like, oh, he's got that kind of toughness. He's got that kind of arm. He's got that kind of rushing ability. He's got that kind of poise. Like, I don't think any of that's even close.
Well, the toughness, I don't think he has anything else, but I do think, the problem is Josh Allen takes on all those hits and never gets hurt. He's like the most durable quarterback of all time, whereas Jaxson Dart is willing to take on all those hits.
If you
but then he
X-rayed his elbow, I don't know what you'd see, but it doesn't affect him.
No, that's true. No, you're right, but he is out there starting every single game and playing all-time great football. Yeah. Logan, where are you with Dart?
I agree pretty much with the fundamental point with it Theo said. I wrote two things down about Jaxson Dart. The first sentence that I wrote was, scares me with how he plays football. Like, Jaxson Dart plays like a wild man. And like, the only quarterback that I can compare him to in NFL history is Jim McMahon. Like, you as a quarterback should not play like this. Like, Jaxson Dart is on trajectory to have a 3-year NFL career. Like, that's not me hating. People called Franco Harris, excuse my French here, a pussy in the 1970s because Franco, anytime he would catch the ball, would run out of bounds. Hey, guys, guess what? There's a reason that Franco Harris played 13 seasons in the NFL in the 1970s. Guys didn't do that at the running back position back then. That is unprecedented longevity back then. It is just a smart way to play football. And if Jaxson Dart doesn't make that adjustment, like, don't get me wrong, man. On the surface, I like it, bro. All right, fire me up, dude. You're playing tough, hard-nosed football, fighting for that extra yard.
Him and Scat, they're just headbutting each other over and over.
It's not worth shaving years off of your life and off of your NFL career. And it could be a crazy 2 to 3 year run, man. It could be electric. It could be awesome. But, like, I agree fundamentally with Theo's point. I like his talent. His legs I really like his legs. Like, they are what make me want to watch him play and that excite me about his game. And he's got some zip on his ball. But if Dart doesn't change the way he plays, like I feel like he is going to be a shooting star, that it's fun to watch. It's cool. They're going to win, I don't know, 7, 8
2 games.
maybe?
They're the worst team in the league this year.
Well, I
They're
don't
gonna
think
win
that's
big.
all him. Like, I think that's
No. Of course
that
not.
that rushing defense is so bad. Yeah, but that is why he couldn't be higher. I think his ability, and I think his ability is actually probably right around here, but he terrifies me, man. I think he could end up getting his block knocked off one of these games and have to retire, and that's terrifying.
Yeah. And it hurts even within games, like the Bears game.
Exactly, bro.
Right? It's like he's got a chance to knock off a Bears team and get the upset here, but at the back of your mind, you're like, he's about to take some hit. He's about to make some mistake, and that's exactly what happened. He got popped, he fumbled, he lost a tooth, and he got knocked out of the next several games. And the offense was better with Jameis. The offense was better with Jameis.
Jameis had his classic 2-game revival.
Sure. I don't know how much that would
hold up.
That would hold, but
yeah.
Coming back, playing the Patriots, he had no designed rushes, and they got blown out, and the offense wasn't as impressive. And you saw some of the lateness with his timing, some of the inaccuracy, the turnover-worthy plays. So I've got him at 24, and I really could see him being lower than 24. But I do have to keep reminding myself, like, Slayton has dropped so many passes this year, and Neighbors is out, and he really does have some juice. He really does have more control over certain situations than I thought.
He does have some juice. What you were touching on at the end, though, is why I do still have Tua and Bryce over him, physically limited as they may be. And Dart has some physical gifts that obviously they don't. I do still just trust the accuracy, timing stuff with them more by enough of a margin to say, all right, I'll take the professionals. I'll take Tua, who's been in the league 6 years, Bryce, who's a pretty smart guy in his third year, but I could easily go either way on that.
So, Carson, we are caught up through everybody's 24. We do not know anyone's 23.
All right. Well, Logan, I'll throw it to you first, my friend. Who's in that spot for you?
This is where the list gets really interesting to me. And I honestly, 17 through 23 were kind of tough. I have Trevor Lawrence at 23. And I don't
As
know
his head coach, I just can't stand for it. I can't stand for it.
I don't know what to do with the guy. And I'll tell you guys who I have below or ahead of him, and I don't feel great about it. I have the boner above Trevor Lawrence.
Who is the boner?
The boner? The boner?
I know about the boner.
You're not familiar with the boner? The guy who rises up at the end of the game and gets you to rise up with him?
Mm-hmm. He's sleeping. He's dormant the first 3 quarters, and then boom, at halftime, he pops
then right
one.
when you wake up,
Fourth
he's
quarter.
there.
Wouldn't a boner be first quarter?
No,
easily and then die down.
He's clutch in big moments. He's waiting for the big moment.
Mm-hmm. And when he wakes up, he's hard.
Caleb?
No, it's Bo Nix. Theo, it's right there in the name.
Bo. Duh. Okay.
The boner.
I like that.
It's really clever. It's actually
I actually like that. Yeah,
that is
LC
good. Here. LC the Kid.
He rises up. Yeah, okay.
I just haven't seen anything from Trevor to prove he belongs higher on this list. And I empathize with Trevor's situation to an extent. The offensive coordinator overhaul is really what I empathize with. The fact that he's had no stability from his coaching staff. And it's not like it's exclusive to a lot of quarterbacks. That happens to a lot of quarterbacks. But that's kind of my point is I feel like at a point, I would see it. Trevor would show that he is an elevator of team offense, that he can read an NFL defense, that he can avoid some of these catastrophic mistakes. When I watch Trevor Lawrence play, my hope when I watch him is, wow, I really hope Trevor Lawrence doesn't throw this back-breaking interception that fucks the Jaguars. And I kind of feel that way about Bo sometimes. I feel that way about Geno. I feel that way about Daniel Jones some games. This is kind of the stretch of the list where you are a steady guy at some points, but at the end of the day, my prevailing sentiment about you is I really hope this is the play you don't shit your pants, and you're probably liable to shit your pants. Trevor Lawrence is in that territory to me where the Jags are winning games now. I don't really think that's due to T-Law. I think that's due to Liam Cohen, this running game, this defense. And T-Law's there some games. In some games, he's got it, and he doesn't have that back-breaking mistake. In some games, he does have that back-breaking mistake. So I think Trevor's raw abilities would warrant him still being higher on this list, where I'll spoil this. I really agonized over whether I should rank him above Aaron Rodgers, but because of how physically limited Rodgers is at this point of his career. But I've watched every game that Rodgers has played this season, and Rodgers still has that Hall of Fame brain. Like, he has got that Hall of Fame mind. T-Law, again, still is liable to make that mistake. He is, since he entered the league, he is 44th out of 67 qualified quarterbacks in passer rating. And I don't think that's the be-all, end-all, but I do think that speaks to some of his efficiency, the completion percentage, the mistakes. I just don't think T-Law has really shown me that he hasn't really proven that he belongs to be any higher than this. So that's why he's at 23 for me, man. He's one of the most confusing guys, I think, to rank on this list.
The reason I have him a couple spots higher at number 20 is because while I agree that his experience is totally erratic, up and down, you don't know what you're getting week to week, quarter to quarter, play to play. The difference that I would make between him and the guys who I have below him is I actually feel like he is equally likely to make the heroic play as he is to make the mind-numbingly stupid play that cost you the game that you're talking about. Like, there are a number of throws, a number of decisions this year you can point to from Trevor Lawrence, and you just go, what the hell happened there? If it is a decision, if it is a wildly inaccurate ball, if it is him throwing the ball when he's clearly past the line of scrimmage, which he's done multiple times, like, there is some real standout bad stuff. But the difference that I would say compared to a Bo is, like, T-Law does have physical gifts. He does have highs that Bo and the other guys below him just can't
Bo's
replicate.
got his legs, man. I like
Dude,
Bo's legs.
I think you're selling short some of the good stretches that T-Law has put together this year. Like, again, I have him at number 20. I think he's super inconsistent. He's not somebody I can trust. He's in this mid-tier. But I do think, like, we always have to talk about the drop thing that he is exposed to, because while I already think, like, his accuracy is quite inconsistent, it's a problem. He's 29th of 34 qualified quarterbacks in on-target throw percentage. Like, if it's the alignment of his feet, there's just some inconsistency there. His team is also first in drops by far. They have 38. And if you just adjust for league average drop percentage, Trevor Lawrence would be at like a 63% completion rate, 7.2 yards per attempt. Like, his numbers would look significantly better if his receivers were just not by far the worst in the NFL when it comes to dropping passes. And now, these last couple weeks, as we've seen, Jakobi Meyers has been an awesome addition for them as Brian Thomas Jr. gets back out there and actually has a really good performance. Like, the passing game is starting to gel and come together, and it looks good, and T-Law looks good. I also think when you talk about legs, dude, he's been one of the most effective scramblers in the NFL this year. Like, he's using his legs well. He is a good mover. And then when you pair that with the fact that his arm is big as hell, and there are legitimate stretches when he executes the offense with actual poise and his pocket presence is good, and he, like, is working through his progressions and kind of slinging that shit around the field, like, he confounds me. This is where I land on him.
I have him way higher than you guys.
Really?
I have him at, we'll get to where I have him, I guess.
No, I want to know. Well, go ahead. I thought I was making the pro T-Law case. Oh my God. Okay. Sell us.
Well, he's just like the talented burnout. You know what I mean? Like, he just can he makes really difficult things every week look easy, like high end throws. He's got such a big arm. He's so fluid for how tall he is. Like, he is an effective scrambler. Like, I think if it's a 2-minute drive and, like, you need the drive, right? Joe Montana, we need to go 90 yards to win the game or whatever it is. Like, that's what I'd put T-Law really high, because
really?
I think
that's the exact reason I went with the boner over T-Law.
I think
the exact reason I went with Bo.
Dude, I think T-Law has 20 plays this year that Bo can't make, you know? Like, I just think the highs that he reaches, like Theo's saying, it speaks to why he was such an elite prospect.
Yeah,
but obviously the inconsistency is why I think 12 is too high for him.
And since getting Jakobi Meyers, I mean, they've been a lot more steady. Like, they're top 10 in passing success rate since getting Meyers. They scored 29 points versus Houston. They scored 35-1, 27-1, 25-1, 36-1, and won that game. Like, they're kind of on a heater since the Jakobi addition. And T-Law, yeah, he has been up and down, but I'm just willing to take some of the up and downness with him. His sack rate has always been pretty low. He's always dealing with the drops. I really think that he is somebody who you can say, look, T-Law, no matter who we put around him, can get them in the playoff hunt. Like they're leading that division right now, and I feel like nobody talks about it, and nobody gives any credit to Trevor Lawrence for
We
that.
talk about it because I'm coaching the team, but yeah,
There,
I agree.
Duval really is so Carson coded. That whole press conference was like, oh my God, they got forever.
Yeah, I'll never
coach.
escape it. So now I've embraced it.
So I've always really liked T-Law. I always think I think he could have, like, you can add like 5 touchdowns to his totals every year, in my opinion. And you can just straight up, that's Theo math.
That's Logan's Tua math. You have to subtract every good thing he's ever done.
He had 30 touchdowns in 2022. There were drops, so he had 26 in 2023. He's already up at 23 this year.
Unbelievable.
I don't know. Since 2022, if you take out the Urban Meyer year, he's 14th in drop back EPA, or the Jaguars are 14th in drop back EPA since 2022. They're 13th in success rate. And I've got him at 12th overall with quarterback because I don't think he's received a lot of help there. So I just think the Jaguars passing attack overall has been better than what you're describing. And I think T-Law deserves maybe even more credit than the average quarterback for those results.
I guess I may be jaded because of my expectations for T-Law because I was so sold on him as a prospect. Like I am just, he's one of the most disappointing. He's an all-time quarterback prospect.
For sure.
I mean, I'd say him and Kyler are two of the most disappointing number 1 picks in terms of what they've turned out to be. Like those guys were supposed to be, T-Law's on a bigger extent. I include Kyler in there because of all his high school and college success, because high school, he was a prolific quarterback, just like T-Law. Like these guys were highly touted. I am just disappointed that he hasn't become that franchise guy. I just think T-Law has a bozo gene.
He is ADD. He is ADD. Like
there is and I'm not saying there are quarterbacks higher on this list that have that same quality. Goff, Darnold, like it's not like that excludes you from being on this list. I just feel like T-Law's bozo gene is a little bit more prevalent than those guys. And I mean, Carson, can I ask you something?
Please.
You're talking about that drop thing. Are we going to put any of that on T-Law? Like, I don't know, dude. It's kind of weird to me that the Jags are always. Does that have something to do with the balls he throws? Like,
he throws a hot ball. I don't know, man. Like, you saw what BTJ was doing earlier this year.
Sucked.
They're like the worst drops you've ever seen in your life. Like, I think it is overwhelmingly actually a receiver thing there. And Theo has me wondering now if I should move T-Law up a few spots. Like, I don't know, man. The point about
T-Law is the new
the
Justin
2-minute
Herbert,
drill.
He's the new if guy.
Okay,
Justin
Herbert is not even that. He's always been elite.
He's not even that much of an if guy because he has a playoff win.
Oh,
but there is some of the
over Justin Herbert, a 30-point lead. Yeah,
but there definitely is a lot of the hypothetical of like, man, what if his receivers didn't lead the league in drops, which I think is somewhat valid.
I don't know, dude. Like T-Law's had some clutch moments. Like the Cardinals game was the ultimate T-Law experience, right? Because there are some moments where you're like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And then he clutches up and like, it's the Cardinals, but he does get them the win there. That drive to beat the Chiefs was pretty damn impressive. I think he has 4 game-winning drives this year. So like even the boner, Logan, I mean, that's what the boner has, but T-Law has actually been good in those spots too this year. I'm just going to say, like, when I think about some of the guys who I have immediately above him, and I'll spoil it, I won't say exactly where I have them, but like Kyler Murray, Caleb Williams are some of the names coming up on this list. When it comes to the ability to execute a drive, when T-Law locks in, I think he can do things those guys can't do. I think there is a level of pocket presence, of arm talent, of just being a good passing quarterback consistently. But then I can't really say consistently. It's like consistently for a stretch, for a game. But then you also know that 1 in every 3, it feels like one of those head scratchers is looming where it's like, T-Law, what the hell happened? But we can't be surprised by those low points. I just don't think he's consistent enough to be at 12. But I have usually defended him. This year, it's just been like some of these mistakes are indefensible, but I'm definitely higher on him than you are, Logan, because I do think like there are stretches where I am impressed with Trevor Lawrence. And compared to like Bo Nix, who I do have at 23, I just feel very differently about them in terms of the stratosphere of talents that they're in. Because like the thing with Bo, and I'll get into this now, and this is certainly going to be a lot of fun, is like there's a couple things that I like with Bo. I like his ability to limit taking sacks. I like his mobility. I like his legs. And then that's kind of it. Like, I just think he lacks high-end traits. T-Law has high-end traits. Bo lacks that. And as a passer,
Yeah,
he's
I
just
think
quite limited.
he is. I think Bo's just a better game manager, though. That's at the point that I'm at with Bo. Like, I get that I completely agree with you. His ceiling on, like, what he could possibly do is nowhere near as high as Trevor Lawrence is, but Bo does give me that just, like, level of he's steady. He's steadier, and I get it. He can shit his pants and throw some bad picks,
But it's steady bad. It's steady,
it's
like,
good
below
enough.
average.
Trevor, I don't know, man. I feel like
I mean,
T-Law,
T-Law's leading the better offense this year.
I think both of these
by
guys
a good
are
margin.
It's like I thought about doing that thought exercise where I was like, okay, let's put T-Law in this Denver situation. Is he better? And like on the surface, my brain wants to go, yeah, he's just way more physically talented than Bo Nix, but I'm just not ready to just do that.
But
for
he's
T-Law.
better even in his situation.
I just don't think so, man. I think
Really,
Bo,
dude?
I
Bo
think
Nix
Bo
can't
is
throw the ball downfield with any consistency. He is like one of the biggest check down merchants I've ever seen in my life.
I agree. He completes short passes. He gets the ball
And
out quickly. He doesn't take sacks.
Bad offense. It leads to an offense that is 20th in points per drive, even as they have an amazing offensive line and a really good play caller and a really good wide receiver one and a good run game.
I think Bo is a little bit better.
Yeah, they're just different to me in terms of the highs, in terms of the ceiling that I get from a T-Law, the best of the best. But with Bo, like, there's just a lot more that I don't like than I do like. I think his pocket presence is shaky. I think he can get a little frantic under pressure. He is very inaccurate downfield. And I talk about, like, the Broncos offense just being check down, check down, check down. He's 31st of 34 qualified quarterbacks in completed air yards per completion, right? A lot of these balls are at or behind the line of scrimmage. And the reality is he can complete a high percentage of his passes, but because he has to be so insanely conservative to do so, like, Bo Nix is 28th in yards per attempt. The Broncos, for very, very extended stretches, even though there is a lot of good stuff offensively around Bo, do not move the ball. And I think he's the reason for that. Like, I wouldn't say that Bo Nix is bad, because I think that there is at least a stability with him that I'm not getting from, again, these bottom 5-6 guys who we're talking about. Like, he doesn't have disaster games in the sense of, oh my God, Tua, 3 turnovers. What the fuck happened there? Right? Like some of these guys who just can have these horrible individual performances. But the thing with Bo is it's more so a lack of good. It's just a total lack of consistent offensive production that is actually leading to good results on that side of the ball or good performances out of him. Like, he can avoid the F play, but he ends up taking a lot of C- plays. And I just don't like that. And I think because the team is winning and Denver's 11-2, because they have this incredible defense, like, people are going to say Bo has to be better because Bo wins games. But when your offense is bad, and I'm watching your quarterback play and he has all these concrete limitations and issues, I'm sorry, the fact that you have one of the best defenses this century doesn't make your quarterback better just because you're winning games.
I agree with that fundamentally. We always talk about the quarterback attribution thing. I'm not going to rehash this, but, and again, I think this is also a byproduct of the offense not performing well early in games that they have to do this. Bo leads the NFL in fourth quarter comebacks and game-winning drives this season. In big moments, boners rise. Give me Bo.
Dude, I think Trevor is high up on that list.
I think when it comes to manipulating zone defenders and like pushing the ball to the intermediate areas, it's not even close between Bo and Trevor Lawrence. I don't think it's remotely close. I think Bo needs space, I think is what Bo needs. He needs to be able to stretch his legs, run to the sideline. He needs somebody running pretty open. He needs a go ball with no safety up the sideline. He needs a crosser with nobody in front of him. And he needs to run. He really burns through space in the pocket, I think, pretty quickly because he's so prone to take off. And I think it takes a lot of Sean Payton hijinks to get the offense to this kind of average level that it's at, where it's like the offensive line is great. We're constantly throwing screens and RPOs. We're constantly rolling Bo out. I think Bo's a good athlete. I think he's very elastic. Like, some of the things that have really impressed me this year, like the touchdown he had versus Washington kind of falling to the ground was cool.
Yeah, that was a great throw.
He's had some RPOs, and I know RPOs are kind of fake offense, but like he has some RPOs where he sees like a blitz come from the backside and like will turn his body around in such a short order and like throw from this really, really awkward position to get the RPO read to the right spot. So I think like the elasticity to him, the speed, The throw on the move, like there's nice things about Bo, but at the end of the day, you need space and you need to design a really specific offense around him. Whereas with T-Law, I honestly think he needs less help, like a dagger concept, 4 verts, like anything down the field, a sail to the tight end, like whatever kind of intermediate concept comes to mind. Like Trevor Lawrence can get the ball there and with his arm and in a tight pocket, and I value that pretty highly. All these digs that he's throwing in tight windows that really should be completed at a pretty high rate, and they're not because Brian Thomas Jr. was scared to run them for the majority of the season. I think that that's a crucial trait to playing quarterback. And even though Lawrence will run out of bounds when the clock has to be running and they're trying to run out of the clock, even though he'll throw it 5 yard past the line of scrimmage at least twice this year. Like, I don't know what the hell he's thinking. Like I said, the gifted burnout who can do the hard things and just like struggles with the easy ones. Like that is him. But overall, I think you live with the brain farts because he does things like he does look like Herbert or Dak Prescott or some of the top end like pocket passers in the league for like kind of long stretches of games, I think. But yeah. At my 23, last time I was on here, I ranked Baker Mayfield at number 23. And I think for the bit, I got to do the exact same thing again. I feel the exact same way about him, maybe even worse than I did last year. I'm putting Baker at 23.
Logan, your eyes didn't pop out of your head, cartoon style. What happened to the tongue coming out of your mouth? All the things we talked about.
Theo's just a hater.
No, let's hear the case, Theo.
He's just not good at anything. Like he just is not great at anything. I'll say that. Maybe he's not terrible at anything either, but he just doesn't move me. Like when he has to be an athlete, I think he'll take a sack. I think his mechanics are really frenetic.
Bucks games this year, bro. Baker's been getting more mobile than ever.
Like versus the 49ers, he had that really nice scramble, but like overall, I just don't think he's that mobile. Like behind a pretty good offensive line, facing very little pressure overall in his Bucks tenure, like you'd expect the results to be better than they are.
I just cut him slack this year. I think they've been really injured. And like I will say, true. I think the fact that Baker hasn't had Mike Evans this season has made him look worse. I think that Baker Mayfield has been the biggest beneficiary of coming to Tampa Bay and playing with a Hall of Fame wide receiver in Mike Evans for 3 seasons now, and that has made him look better than he ever has in his career. And I think this is the best offensive situation that he has ever played in his career. That being said, this season, I do empathize with the Buccaneers' struggles more than this is the biggest down year that they've had in the Baker tenure, but they have had offensive line injuries. Bredesen's been injured. Gedecke's been injured. Mike Evans has missed a lot of time. Godwin's missed a lot of time. And so I think the fact that Baker has been able – Bucky Irving's been out. You know, they missed stretches with Rashad White. Like, this the offense has been beat up around Baker, and yet you look at him this year, he's scrambling more than ever. I think he second most rushing yards he's had in a single season to last year. He's actually,
and I think he's like 6th among all quarterbacks in rushing yards off scrambles. He's pretty high up.
Yeah, the mobility, especially earlier in the season, was there. I shouldn't. Maybe that's the thing he's above average at. But like his success rate this year is horrific.
He's 10% lower in completion percentage, and I would chalk that up to him being sped up by more pressure because he doesn't have the offensive line out there. They're not running as many short concepts, screens and stuff as they were running with Liam Cohen last season. I think
but screens and stuff are why he was good in the first place. Like down the field, he's just not accurate.
I think he's been more accurate this season. I disagree. I think he's done a much better job of limiting turnovers.
No, not the recent stretch, dude. The recent stretch, Baker has been playing poorly.
He's throwing to Tez Johnson, but watch the week 1 game when they had
Godwin's
Baker
back, Ibuka's out there.
They had in the week 1 game they had Evans and they had Ibuka. They were playing the Falcons, and like Baker was so scattershot. He completed 53% of his passes that game. Like he played bad to me in that one, and then the the Philly game a few weeks later, like I didn't think he played particularly well. And this is during like the peak of his MVP candidacy. I thought they were already kind of.
I didn't ever buy into that. I thought that
Yeah.
Darnold was clearly playing better than him
Sure.
during that open stretch.
But I think he was inaccurate during those kind of beginning stretch when he had more people, or the offense overall was playing better. He still had a really low success rate. He still had a really low completion percentage in those weeks. Then he went nuclear against Seattle and San Francisco. And since then, he's been really bad.
He has not been super consistent this year. I think you're just going too far into the bit, Theo. I think 23 is disrespectful to what Baker Mayfield has done these last 3 seasons. And Theo, I think you hate Baker Mayfield.
Once again, I think I'm going to land in between you two on this, but here's what I will say. I mean, Baker this year has been erratic. Obviously, all of the numbers are way worse than last year, but I don't think it's fair, Theo, to say you look at the situation and the numbers haven't been as good as you would think when, like, the numbers were great last year, right? And you can say, oh, he has these flaws that would get exposed in a worse situation, which they have been this year. But this was a guy who, in a great offensive situation last year with a great run game and great play calling and really good offensive line, like, he gave you 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns, 8 yards per attempt. Like,
and led the league in sacks and interceptions.
Okay, but his sack evasion has been better this year.
It has.
He led a top 3 offense.
He's cut down way on interceptions this year.
I just think the reality with Baker is, like, he is a guy who you put him in a really good offensive situation and he can put up great numbers. You put him in a bad offensive situation and he's going to look just okay. And I feel like that's what we've experienced this year, more so than, like, I don't know. Do you have Bo above him? Is Bo Nix above him?
Yeah,
like,
slightly.
I don't know, man. I just think there's a lot more that Baker does do when it comes to evading sacks, when it comes to scrambling, making plays like that. Like, the extent to which he has dropped off absolutely speaks to his dependence on his surroundings. But we could say that about 20-something of the quarterbacks on
more
this
than
list.
Anything else. Like, you saw it last year when he missed time.
Well,
the Bucs
Liam
lost.
Cohen, Logan. Liam Cohen matters a lot to any franchise.
Liam too, no doubt. But I'm just saying, like, the Bucs lost every single game Mike Evans missed last season. I think there's a pretty clear correlation. Like, you look at his numbers he's a Hall of Famer. Like, I think that's the difference. But it's not like, I don't think Baker's bad. I think Baker's just a good quarterback. I don't think he's one of these upper echelon. He's not top 10 to me. Baker lands at number 14 on my list. I just think he's an above average quarterback.
I have him at 15.
I don't know, man. This Saints game, division on the line, completing 46% of your passes under Brady.
Did you
basically
watch that
no
game?
Pressure.
If you watch that game, there were a few plays that the Bucs got boned on. Cade Ott or Abuka dropped a wide open TD that would have gave them the lead in that one. There was a bullshit ass DPI that they missed on Cade Ott and that would have extended a drive in the red zone. And I thought they got a shitty spot at the end of that game. Don't get me wrong. They lost to the Saints. Baker didn't play a great game, but I did think, like, that TD to Abuka that he drops, I don't put that on Baker. Abuka's got to make that play and give him the lead.
Yeah.
It hit his hands.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, again, this his overall success rate this season.
And I'm sorry at you. Baker's my boy, Theo. That's my baby boy, man.
That's his baby boy.
It's okay. I'm just saying that Baker's success rate this year is down where it was when he got cut from Carolina and had his hand in the dirt on the practice squad. It was 38% that year. It's 40% this year. He's just been way too scattershot. He has not been finding completions. Like, they're bottom 5 in success rate when they're not under pressure. So even when he's clean, he's just not finding completions. And I think the poor footwork in the pocket, the freneticness, the accuracy has all been like 23rd caliber, honestly. Like, is he better than Bo? Is he worse than Bo? Is he better than
like Rodgers?
Rodgers, like
Rodgers, who literally can't move and literally dies under pressure, is like an absolute disaster.
Maybe I'm leaning into the bit too much to put him exactly at 23
there.
because I can see Rodgers being Rodgers is my next guy at 22 and go ahead and flip him. But my overall thing is, like, Baker will just continue to not move me. I don't think you can win a Super Bowl with Baker. I don't think you can go through a playoff run and have him avoid the negative plays he needs to avoid and avoid the misses he needs to avoid. Like with T-Law, I can see the argument being the exact same. I really can.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think overall, like, I think he's more poised and I think that he's more accurate. And I think that he's overall, like, just a more explosive threat at the
You think
quarterback position who can get you better big plays.
you really think T-Law is more accurate than Baker?
110%, like not even a doubt in my mind about that. I think Baker's as
Interesting.
inaccurate as it gets in this league. Like,
Wow, I
watch
think
the Lions game. It's looked like that since the Lions game.
I don't think Baker is a particularly accurate quarterback, but I do think that accuracy is one of the things holding T-Law back, like one of the big things holding him back from being a top 12 guy in my eyes. Like if he had that, then I mean, he would have most of everything you need. Again, like there's some wacky decisions he makes, some dumb awareness stuff, but I do think it's just him missing throws at times as much as anything. But
I think he's accurate. I think he needs to speed up what
Baker's
he's
so much.
seeing.
Like, it's not even close between him and T-Law to me, man. Baker's just so
See,
much more steady.
I just stay
Steady is
right
the
in the middle
exact
between you two.
opposite
Yeah,
word
you
I
can't
think
say
of when
steady.
I think of
Okay,
Baker.
here's what I will say about the Baker Mayfield dichotomy. If you look at the last 7 weeks, this guy is statistically going to look like one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. He's got a 75 passer rating, 5.3 yards per attempt, 169 yards per game,
With
9 touchdowns, 7
string
turnovers.
offense, man.
Logan, it's a dichotomy. That means there's two sides. The other side is if you look at the last 3 years, Baker is going to be like top 5 in passing touchdowns, close to top 5 in passer rating, high up in yards per attempt, right? This is where, again, he falls into that clear range of guys who are solid to good, but dependent on situation. I don't think having T-Law above him is crazy. I think having T-Law 11 spots above him is batshit insane. Like, I think they fall into a similar range, and that's why I have Baker 15. I have T-Law. I think I'm going to move him up 1 spot to 19, and I could move him up to 17, and I don't think these guys are far apart. But I do think, Theo, you choose to really focus on the bad with Baker. And there is bad there, but there is also a lot more good than some of the guys below him are giving you. And again, you said we can flip him with Rodgers, but like there is just a physical capability of like, I need somebody who can move. I need somebody who can create a little something. Yeah. Baker can give me more of those big plays. Baker can also execute an offense when the infrastructure around him is really good to be an elite unit. 2023 was different. I mean, they didn't have this great rushing attack at all. They had a terrible rushing attack, and their offense wasn't like good, but their offense was solid. And I actually think Baker did a lot of heavy lifting for that group. So this has been the worst stretch he's had, obviously, since he got to Tampa, and he is capable of having down stretches, but 23 is just too low.
23 is too low. Maybe this is a bit of a Tua thing where I should have him higher. I'm just not interested in having him on my team because I feel like there's just been so much erraticness over the course of his career that I just don't trust him to go through the playoffs. And with Lawrence, he's younger, and we haven't seen him in a situation I think as good as Tampa last year. I don't think
but he's also never
him
put up numbers close to as good as what Baker did in Tampa last year.
I think 2022 was pretty close.
No, not really. I mean, again, 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns, 8 yards per attempt, 71% completion. Like, and yeah, the screens, all the infrastructure was a big thing, but
again, leading the league in interceptions and sacks, whereas T-Law had 8 interceptions and 27 sacks for 184 yards.
I did think T-Law was really good that year,
season.
And I was really high on T-Law that year. I thought T-Law was like a top 10 quarterback that year, and I think part of it was he was that good. Part of it was also I was kind of like factoring in the talent into my mind and maybe giving him a little too much credit, saying, yeah, some of this stuff is just going to iron itself out. And I just don't think it's ironed itself out enough. But again, if you want to have these guys neck and neck, I think that makes total sense. But to have T-Law like in a totally different tier, to have Baker down this low, to me, it's too much because in my 21 spot, that's where I have Aaron Rodgers. 1 spot above Geno in my 22 spot. Like, I'll just keep it simple. I think we've talked about it. Pressure just absolutely obliterates him at this point in his career. And He doesn't make those intermediate throws over the middle anymore. He's just like the most extreme version of the smart old man QB, but like very, very old. Logan, you mentioned maybe with questionable phrasing, he's got that Hall of Fame brain still. And you see that he's good at the quick passing game.
That's because you're a pervert.
Okay. Well, just make it a little joke for my friends. He throws a pretty deep ball to DK. We've seen that connection a number of times this year. And like his arm obviously isn't what it was, but it's still pretty good. His accuracy, his anticipation, his decision-making, like all this stuff is pretty good. And he's overall done good work for this limited Steelers offense. He can manage a game, but it's like scary when he sees pressure. I'm like, oh my God, Aaron, please don't die. And that's just not a way that I feel about any of the quarterbacks in my top 20. He's 33rd in EPA per dropback under pressure. He's 23rd in EPA per dropback when his time to throw goes over 2.5 seconds. Like, it's just such core
It's actually
physical
not
limitations.
It's not even a Rodgers thing. This is going to sound crazy when I say this. Aaron Rodgers, I think, has been the Steelers' best player this season, dude. No bullshit. Like,
Logan, I have to disagree. Like,
dude, he is, bro.
When things go off schedule,
no, I get
he's
it.
helpless out
I
there.
am saying, I think the Steelers' offense is like a bottom 3 situation in football. I think the offensive line is horrible. I think our wide receiver situation after DK is the worst in the NFL. Like, the extent that this team is propped up on old-ass Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf is scary. The defense is like, the fact that they are winning games is all because Rodgers can get the ball out quickly on screen passes and get the ball downfield to DK. And I agree with what you're saying about pressure. The reason that Rodgers gets rid of the ball so quickly is because the offensive line can't protect. Like,
but it's also because if he gets in a spot where he has to create something, like, it's not even a possibility. It's like the same criticism we've had of Tua, where he has to get rid of the ball in 2.2 seconds.
And the receivers don't get separation downfield if it's not DK. Like,
the receivers aren't good, but also he can't make these throws over the middle of the field anymore.
He could if they bought him time.
When he tries them, he misses, and he doesn't make them. And there's a reason that guys don't make them. When Russell Wilson had this exact same problem, it was Russ's fault. But now that it's Aaron Rodgers, it's not.
Russ never, if you looked at a Russ passing chart, Russ never threw over the field anyway. Russ was just hucking deep balls.
But this happens when you get old.
No,
and also, the
Carson,
screens, yes, they're good for their offense, but, leading the league in completions to running backs isn't exactly something that's going to move me. I understand why it's necessary, but...
No, Rodgers has his limitations, but what I'm saying is, the Steelers' offense is fucking atrocious. Arthur Smith is an idiot. The personnel blows. Aaron Rodgers is the best part of this offense. Like, I just want to make this clear. I don't think Rodgers is good at this point in his career. He is a below-average quarterback. Rodgers is the best thing about this football team.
Yeah, but it's an offense that's 27th in yards per drive. The prettiest shit is still a shit. And I'm not trying to disrespect Rodgers. I actually think he has been very solid this year. I have him 21. I don't have him.
I'm just saying, I think that a lot of people I think a lot of people may bag on Rodgers.
No, you're right.
Rodgers is propping up one of the worst offensive situations in the NFL.
I couldn't agree more that he is unequivocally not the problem in the Steelers' offense. He's the best quarterback they've had in years, but being a bright spot in a bad offense isn't necessarily a good thing.
I'm just trying to give him props when I think.
Well, where do you have him? I mean, we're having this argument. I don't even know where
he is 2 spots above. I'm just saying, I think you're being a little bit overly negative when I think that if you put Rodgers in Denver, the Broncos are Super Bowl contenders, even though it's 3 spots of separation. Like that. I just want to use that as an example, as a launching point where Rodgers, I think, is made to look even worse by. God, I'm so fucking sick and tired of the Steelers, man.
Rodgers still has the quick release, like, you see something not right with the defense, like, give the hand signal and, like, get the ball to him really quick. Like, and if the Steelers could pay attention to the hand signals, like, maybe they could be a good team, but they don't. And Rodgers ends up throwing to nobody and then crashing out because Geno Smith is, like, staring into space instead of looking at him or whatever. The absolute disrespect to Zach Frazier here, though, Logan. He's the best player on the Steelers offense by like a country mile, but
they all suck.
Zach Frazier is a fucking elite player.
Yeah, Zach Frazier's cool, but it's like, dude, everybody else blows, man. There's nothing to. It's like, that's sick, dude. Our center's sweet.
You got to see him climb to the second level. It doesn't matter because Broderick Jones has blown by
Roderick
and Jalen
Jones.
Warren's getting killed in the backfield. But
zero penalties this year from the boy Broderick. Bro.
Hey.
Progress.
He did tackle Rodgers and make Rodgers scream at him.
Yeah, somebody's got to take him down a peg.
Yeah, I think Rodgers. We just saw him play like a really good game against the Ravens, which is only made possible by just how bad the Ravens pass rush actually is, right? But you do see that, like, man, his arm really isn't like gone or anything. And like, man, if it's Mike Green trying to hit him, he can break that tackle, I guess. But
he had a scramble TD against the Ravens.
He did have a scramble TD against the Ravens. So, like,
Yeah.
I think there's still, like, a little something in there, but he's definitely not 44-year-old Tom Brady.
Put
Like, he
him
just isn't he's not that level of old guy.
Put
Yeah.
him in Indianapolis. I think they're a contender. Like one
They
of
would
those
kill for him
teams.
right now for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh my God. Yeah. They're going to 44-year-old Phillip Rivers, who I'm still waiting to see where Logan has him on his list. Yeah. So where do you have him on your list, Theo?
I have him 22,
Okay.
and maybe 23 below Baker, but I wanted to put Baker in
Well,
the same
right.
spot. But
Yeah, all
we'll
right.
put Rodgers at 22.
So we have him in that 19 to 22 range across the board. I am covered up until my number 19 spot. Logan, who is the next hole we got to fill for you?
So this might be controversial with how he played this year, and I think this is going to be a contentious part of the list. I have Daniel Jones in my 21 spot, and the reason he's here, I think a lot of people would go, Daniel's a top half quarterback in the league this season, but it's like we have 6 years of tape or 5 years of tape prior to this that speak to what quarterback Daniel Jones was. I think Jones made a lot of progress this year, more accurate than he's ever been before.
More
made
poised.
great decisions, limited negative plays. Exactly. Like I thought this was a beautiful union of offensive coordinator and quarterback. But when I think you eliminate situation from it, I think a lot of other quarterbacks would look great in this Indianapolis situation. I think you've got one of the best play callers in the league, one of the best offensive lines, one of the best running games. Like I tried to eliminate situation from it as much as possible. That being said, I do think Daniel's better. And Daniel, at this point in his career, has a veteran polish more similar to some of these upper echelon quarterbacks. I'm not going to directly comp him to a Goff or a Darnold or a Baker, but it's like Daniel has this consistency factor that some of these young quarterbacks don't. That being said, I don't think this year is totally what he is because you see a couple of games from him where he cracks under pressure. And that's the biggest thing to me why he's not higher is, and hell, you could say that about Geno this year too. They're separated by one spot on my list. I have Geno one spot higher because I still have this embedded faith in him. But Jones had a better year, unequivocally. It's the pressure to me. If he looked better under pressure, maybe he could be closer to like 17 or something. But it's like, I know how to break Daniel Jones. You eliminate the running game. You get pressure on him. He'll crack. I feel like these other quarterbacks are still just more poised than DJ. But he improved. Daniel Jones would not have made my list last season. Or if he did, he was like 27 or some shit. So he's better. I still don't think he's a top half of the league QB, even with this career year.
Theo, you got him in the same spot?
Yeah, same spot, and I agree. And plus he's torn his Achilles now, and I understand that like, oh, this is a healthy version of him, but it doesn't really matter because going forward, it's always going to be Daniel Jones off an Achilles, right, for the rest of his career. I think the fumbles are still an issue with him, but he was managing the pocket better. Like there's just that slight blur of man, you really hung in the pocket well, and man, you really brought the ball back under pressure. And I think he really did do a good job overall this year, like standing in some really tight pockets and testing intermediate windows and playing really well versus zone and man. And the deep ball was still shaky, but way better than it had been in the past when he's the worst deep ball thrower in the league. He had a little bit of scrambling ability. He was a good thing, but now post Achilles and with everything else he's gone in his career, he's not cracking my top 20. I got him at 21. Yeah.
Factoring in the Achilles is fair, and it's difficult for me to know how to do that. So I'm pretty much not, which maybe is the wrong way to go about it. I pretty much am going off of what we saw from Danny Dimes this year. I have him up at 16, dude. And my inclination early in the year was to be like, all right, we got to hold out. The bottom is going to fall out of this thing. Like, we know who Daniel Jones is. And you could argue to an extent that did happen. I mean, things started to take a turn for the worse at the end where the Colts lost 4 of their last 5 with him starting. He had 8 turnovers in those 5 games, made some more questionable decisions. Like you said, Logan, we saw defenses really key in on taking away the run, putting more pressure on Danny Dimes to beat them. And he struggled a bit more under those circumstances for sure. Like a good bit more considering how flawless like a lot of his play was and his numbers were early in the year. But even understanding like this was a really good offensive situation, elite line, elite run game, elite play caller, good pass catchers. Danny Dimes was number 1 in passing success rate among all quarterbacks this year. And he was 8th in pass rating and 5th in yards per attempt. And like, I was impressed consistently by his ability to just sling it, man. I mean, he's got a big arm, which he always had, but he's actually channeling it now with better accuracy. He hung in the pocket. He was better under pressure than ever before. Like, Logan, I agree with you. Like, when he struggled, it was under pressure, but I think he was 4th in EPA per dropback under pressure overall this year. So you compare that to like the previous cartoonish version of Daniel Jones, who would like run around like a chicken with his head cut off and who knew what was going to happen. Like, that didn't happen this year. He hung in some tighter pockets. He made some big throws down the field. He controlled the game well. And so I just think, even considering the situation, which is absolutely a good one, like, he just gave you a level of solidness above everybody below him. Everybody below him, I'm like, it's been up and down this year. I don't really know what I'm getting. Danny Dimes, that is true to an extent. That's why I have him in 16, and I didn't consider him higher than this. This is probably the ceiling for where I could go with him. But maybe I am factoring in too much just his performance this year. I thought he looked like a different football player. I thought it was not just situation. I thought it was like clear maturation and progression in a number of key areas from him. So I like him a little more than you guys. And I hope he gets back out there. But for now, I really fucking hope we see Phillip Rivers. That would be like the greatest thing ever, to see Phillip Rivers.
He's definitely better than Riley Leonard.
He is, right? I mean, he's 44. I don't know if we know.
I don't know if he's definitely better. If he looks the same as 2020, he is definitely better.
For sure, but it's 5 years. And it's a big 5 years.
Who did you have at 23, Carson?
I had Bo Nix there. I had the boner.
Okay.
Yeah. So
and I've got Nix at 20, and we can just say that because we've already been over him.
Perfect. So let's get in then to the 19 spot.
Hold up. I have my 20 spot because I have Rodgers at 19. Well, we already talked about him, so I had Geno at 20.
Yeah.
You had Geno at 20.
Yeah, okay. So I'm caught up to 19.
All right. In my number 19 spot, I have now Trevor Lawrence, actually. I made this change on the pod. So in 20, I have Kyler Murray. I just don't really know what to do with Kyler. Like, I've mostly been a Kyler defender, but I just think he's so inconsistent. And like, obviously his arm talent and mobility are both nuts. And like, he normally keeps the interceptions pretty low, but there's so much about his game that is unreliable. I think his pocket presence is iffy. I think his accuracy and his decision-making are both up and down. And like, if you look at this year, when they've actually brought in like a fringe starting caliber, actual good backup, Jacoby Brissett, like, their offense has been better without Kyler, and Brissett has just straight up looked better than him. So my previous thought with Kyler, and the reason that I always kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt, was like, his raw physical gifts, his creation makes him a guy who like can elevate an offense on the back of that. And he can be like an offensive engine in a way that, you know, isn't going to make him a top 10 guy, but it's going to make him like an upper half of the league guy, just because those physical gifts can't be replicated. But like, we haven't actually seen him show a consistent ability to do that since 2021. That was a great season. Every year since then, like, the Cardinals have been one of these confusing, frustrating teams. And I think Kyler is absolutely a part of that. So the guys who I have above him, I just trust more as drop back passers. I trust a little bit more in terms of the consistency of their processing, decision-making, accuracy, all these things. Where do you land with Kyler, Theo?
So for me, I've got Kyler not too much different. I got him at 18. I got him at 18. And yeah, I think with him, there was a lot of checkdowns this year. I think he's got some height limitations where, I mean, offensive linemen in front of you are just big, dude. Like, they're just big. And I think you've got to be able to find throwing windows, and the pocket is more 3D than people think. Like, I love the next gen stats pocket, like, bubble thing that they do, and where there's open space on the ground. But that's not the only way that you look at the pocket. It's like a teacup. There's some verticality to it. And I do think that limits Kyler Murray when it comes to testing some of the windows that Jacoby Brissett can and has hit this year, right? He's somebody who's not checking it down at all. He's constantly kind of firing down the middle of the field, which comes with its own problems for him sometimes. But overall, yeah, it has resulted in similar results to Kyler, or better results. So I think Kyler, you can design a QB run game around him. He's still really dynamic with his legs, but how much is that really true when he gets banged up? And how much longer is that going to be true at age 29? Kyler is kind of holding on to any kind of spot in this top 32, honestly, by a thread. I have him at 18 in the middle here because I still believe that he can come in and push the ball to the sideline pretty well and design a QB run game around him. I mean, not that different than like a Jayden Daniels or a Jalen Hurts, right? Like, I still think those kind of outcomes are there for Kyler Murray, but it's like, I just don't know. I don't know where he's going to play next year. I don't know what he's going to look like. I don't know how healthy he's going to be. Like, he could really wash into kind of this bridge quarterback backup tier very quickly, and that scares me. Or if he was in a really good situation, I could see him actually adding value, because there are some things that he does at a really high level. But man, the ceiling and the floor both seem really kind of wide with him more than any other quarterback.
I think this year was really bad for Kyler, like incredibly disappointing. I don't want to forget, like, I thought Kyler looked pretty good last year. Like, it wasn't a return to, like, I mean, it's been 5 years since we saw like star Kyler Murray. And that's what's disappointing, is because you thought after 2021, they got off to that really hot start, like they're undefeated. You think that the Cardinals are putting together something special. He's going to take that leap to like top 10, top 5 quarterback year in, year out.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was a disappointing following 2 years. But I thought last year he was kind of underrated. Again, it wasn't like a resurgence, but I thought the end of last season was really encouraging. And then this year, it's like, dude, Jacoby Brissett's better than him when he's on the field. So I don't know what to do with Kyler. He was also one of the toughest quarterbacks to rank for me. But like, as a talent level, I have him at number 17. Like, I still do feel more similarly to what Theo's talking about, and I would take these guys over him right now, but like a Hurts or a Jayden, I still feel like that is on the table, and he's just more talented than some of these other quarterbacks that are below him. So, he's tough, but I've got him at 17.
I mean, I would have him firmly above like the Rodgers, Geno, the few guys who I have right behind him. He falls into that next group, but this year has been disappointing. I mean, he's always been mercurial, right? And like, I think Cardinals fans have been pissed at him for a while and have been like, we want better, we want better. And I've kind of been like, hey, he does some things that maybe you don't appreciate just on the back of like these athletic gifts, but they're scoring a couple more points per game with Jacoby this year. And like, that's where I'm like, all right, if albeit a very good backup can come in and do your job better, and then there's all these sort of frustrating aspects of trying to build around you that already exist, I've gotten lower on Kyler this year. So, Logan, who is next on your list?
So I skipped one spot for 18 to go to Kyler at 17. I have Brock Purdy in my 18 spot.
Same
and
here.
This is where like the talent thing kind of comes into place. Like, I look at Brock, and I think Brock is like the top notch of game managers in the NFL. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I think Brock is so good at normally, because he does. Brock has a little bit of a bozo gene where he can be inaccurate with, he's got that not only bozo gene, but that kind of meltdown gene where we're talking about, where like a Tua, his picks do come in bunches sometimes. That being said, I have seen it where Brock can just be a steadying presence, where he can make the right throws. He can be accurate. He's got a little bit of a wiggle to his game where he can create outside the pocket and throw on the run. Not like a Kyler, not even like a Baker, I think, but Brock can do those things. He's just a good game manager. But the reason that I can't even have him above like the next guy, Kyler's just got more physical traits. Everybody above him has more physical traits than Brock, and so that's the only limiting factor for him. So, a good starter. I like Brock. I do like Brock as a quarterback, but he's just a middle-of-the-road guy to me. He's at 18.
Yeah, kind of like Kyler. I think it said something that Mac Jones came in and had a lot of success. And I think Brock, it was a super team in 2023, right?
Yeah.
That was the year when they went to the Super Bowl. Yep. Like, one of the best collections of offensive skill talent that you could ever hope to have. And I think that with Kyle Shanahan, that elevated Brock's statistics in the same way that Jimmy G's were. Totally. And since then, he's had a lot of, like, McCaffrey getting hurt like he has sucks. Ayuk getting hurt like he has sucks. Debo falling off and getting traded sucks. But there have been like some good guys that come in and take their place. I don't think the situation is so bad to where it's like, oh, well, Brock is getting sold. Brock is really still that same guy, capable of all those same things as 2023. And he's just not being allowed to show it right now. Like, it's still pretty good. I think he's very dependent on McCaffrey and the kind of that check down and red zone threat that he is. I think it has looked ugly with like McCaffrey out of the lineup in 2023, especially in the red zone, trying to test some tight windows there. Like it has been revealed, I think, since that Super Bowl run that what you're saying is accurate, Logan, that he's a game manager.
Yeah, and I think that that's the side of the aisle that we've all been on with Brock. But if you do look at his numbers dating back to last year, 29 touchdowns against 19 picks, just 17th in passer rating. Like, we've seen this huge drop in his numbers, and that's happened as the situation has gotten less optimal, which like just confirms that reality, right? That he was always a big beneficiary of a great situation. Kyle Shanahan, to me, one of the most underappreciated football minds ever, like an actual football genius who does more to elevate quarterbacks than maybe any guy we've seen. And yet consistently, he doesn't get enough credit for that, and people make it more about the quarterback. And it's just a coincidence that Jimmy G put up these great numbers in San Francisco with Shanahan, but he actually sucks everywhere else. And then Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, comes in and he puts up similarly great numbers, even a little bit better, but it's because he is a special talent. And then Mac Jones comes in and it's like, oh my God, well, this guy was a top 15 pick. Of course he's really good, as if he hadn't looked horrible everywhere else. And it's like, let's give Shanahan his just due and his credit as being the biggest component in the Niners' success year over year. But I do still think Purdy is solid. And I do think we have seen him like in a great situation with great weapons around him. He has that ability to make those timing and accuracy throws and be good at that. As the situation has gotten a bit less stable, he's doing less of that, but he is doing a bit more escaping, a bit more creating, which he is solid at. And I think there's like a double-edged sword there, because Brock does try to make more plays. Sometimes that means Brock makes more mistakes, or Brock doesn't hang in the pocket and he leaves a couple more throws on the table, compared to Mac, who was just like this very good, pretty precise pocket passer. He had to get the ball out quickly, but he was good at doing that. Brock is going to be a little bit more up and down, actually, even though he's the starter here. But I do think he's pretty good at negating pressure. I think the one thing that has not been good for the Niners, I mean, even the weapons, like they're not what they were, obviously, but they have found good talents. Pearsall hasn't been healthy. That sucks. But, you know, if you have healthy Pearsall and Jawan Jennings out there with Kittle, like they still have good weapons. It's not what it was, but the offensive line just is not very good. And so I do think like Purdy keeping sacks pretty low, that's a testament to an ability of his. I just think he's solid. I think we've seen his highs in great situations. I think we've seen him be decent in decent situations now in these last couple years. And that's why I think 18, like this kind of range, is the perfect spot for him. Number 17. Yeah. Theo, are we there with you? And if so, who do you have?
Theo, who's your 19?
I got Bryce at 19.
Gotcha.
Oh, I got Bryce at 19. I got Kyler at 18. And at 17, I have Jayden Daniels.
Okay. Explain.
Which is low compared to where he was like last year, you know, an MVP candidate as a rookie in the NFC Championship game. I just think this year was a disaster for him. And I think that it puts some of his limitations into really high focus. Again, I feel kind of similar with him about Kyler, whereas Kyler, yeah, you've got the mobility, you've got the field stretching arm, like you've got a lot of dynamic potential, but you're always hurt and you're not pushing the ball to the middle in all areas of the field. And with Jayden, it's like I see a lot of the same thing where, I mean, he had the highest scramble rate in the league in 2024 and took a lot of hits. And those numbers went up this year instead of down with more weapons. And that to me is the most concerning thing, because he's skinny and he can't be getting his elbow bent backwards, and he can't be, you can't hate on Jalen Hurts, and you can't hate on Jaxson Dart, and you can't hate on some of these guys that we're going to have probably outside of the top 10 and then put Jayden in the top 10, because like, yeah, it is kind of go ball and scramble with him, and he's getting banged up all the time. Like, he has as clear of weaknesses and as limiting of weaknesses as anybody right now. Now, he is super dynamic. I love how he's able to make people miss. And I think you need that rushing threat in 2025 to be, you know, a top quarterback and to be worth the contracts that they're handing out. But you got to do it smart. And I just don't think he does it smart. He can rise up this list. He can bounce back. But as of right now, like, I think all the things that you're concerned about him as a prospect with, like, really, really popped up this year.
I think they did, that being some of the things, but I don't really necessarily feel that differently about Jayden as I did last year. One, I just want to say fuck Dan Quinn. I thought Dan Quinn completely screwed up Jayden Daniels' sophomore season.
Yeah.
He should not have played Jayden early on that Thursday night football against Green Bay when he was clearly still injured from week 1. That put him on a downward trajectory the rest of this season. Leaves him in when they're up, 30? I mean, they're down 30 in that game, and he leaves Jayden in to get injured. Like, to me, this season has a lot to do with coaching malpractice on the part of Dan Quinn. I agree with you, Theo. I think that is the concern about Jayden moving forward. I was my biggest concern about him. I know it was for you when he was a prospect, him taking these hits and potentially being injured. And it's something that I'm concerned about with Jayden probably for the rest of his career, considering his play style. I think it has to be a big concern. That being said, I just think a lot went wrong with the situation in totality for Washington that doesn't have to do with Jayden. The injuries are one. The two are, you say that they upgraded in talent. Terry McLaurin wasn't available at the beginning of this year, wasn't ready for training camp, and wasn't out there a lot of this year. Terry McLaurin is number one in this league and was a huge reason, I thought, why Washington was great last season. Their offensive line was banged up early on, and they weren't as effective as last year, and that bled into the running game, which was a huge part of Washington's game. So, I do think we saw some of the regression for Jayden. I think we see some of the big concerns about him moving forward, but I think a lot of Washington's struggles had to do with the team than it did just Jayden individually. But I understand you being a little bit more cautious, Theo. That being said, I think Jayden is a special, special talent at full health. I have him number 11 on my list. I think he's just a special quarterback talent.
I have number 12. I think we've seen the downsides of the Jayden Daniels experience and the flaws and the sophomore slump and this stuff that's not necessarily shocking, but I would disagree with some of the names who you put him alongside, Theo, because I think that Jayden has more special A+ traits. His scrambling, even compared to a Hurts, it's stratospheres apart, dude. I mean, he's one of the craziest rushing threats from the quarterback position we've seen. I think he's clearly the second best quarterback rusher after only Lamar Jackson in the NFL right now. I gave you 900 yards on the ground last year and whatever it was. Top of the league in yards per attempt, over 6 a game, I believe. And he was an efficient passer too. This year, his accuracy hasn't been as good. His rushing hasn't been the same, but he has been banged up. And what he did last year, leading a top 5 offense, being as great a rusher as he was with the quick passing game, who hit on deep balls at the rate that he did, who led an elite offense across the board that was great situationally, 3rd down, 4th down, red zone, and he did it without a great supporting cast. I liked the play calling, especially early in the year. I love Terry McLaurin. Other than that, though, if you look at the talent, I mean, the offensive line talent was not very impressive. The rest of the receiving talent, meh. The running back talent, last year, meh.
I don't know. I thought the offensive line was pretty damn good last year.
I think they were okay. I think a lot of what they did, though, in terms of the quick passing game, the screens, was kind of mitigating the fact that they didn't love their offensive line in straight drop back pass, you got to protect situations. But then as the year went along...
Oh, I meant as a run blocking unit.
Good run blocking.
But okay.
Unit, sure. But also I think Jayden is so positively impactful in the run game, even when it's just a zone read handoff,
for
because
sure.
You know that he has the ability to keep it at any time. I just think guys who are that crazy athletically stress the defense on every play in a way that is rare. And that's why he did what he did last year. And even later in the year, as some of their schematic advantages weren't as significant and defenses knew what they were trying to do. And it was more, all right, Jayden, what can you do as a drop back passer? There were more sacks. There were a couple more turnovers. It wasn't as easy. He still balled out, though, and he still balled out through the playoffs. And I just think he's too good to be down at 17. If we were ranking the best quarterbacks from this year, absolutely, he'd be there, just based on his performance. But if we were ranking the best quarterbacks from last year, he'd be 7th. I mean, he'd be way up there. And so I just kind of meet in the middle, and that's why I have him at 12. I acknowledge his flaws, but I put more stock into last year's performance because, like Logan was saying, I mean, it's been a season from hell for the Commanders for a whole lot of reasons that actually don't even have to do with Jayden. And then him having this rough year physically and on the field just makes it all that much worse. In my 17 spot, I've got another second-year quarterback, and I'm curious, where do you guys have Caleb Williams? Because this is where I have him.
I have him at 13.
Okay. Logan?
I have him at 15.
Okay, so I'm the lowest on Caleb. We know what Caleb is great at, right? His arm talent is A+. It's one of the best in the league. He can really move. He is clearly improved this year. He has halved his sack rate from last year, and part of that you give credit to a major offensive line improvement, but also like his mobility, his management of the pocket, that stuff has been better. He protects the ball well. Even going back to last year, he did this, and maybe sometimes that's a consequence of him not processing super quickly and maybe not making some of the higher leverage throws you wish he would make from inside the pocket, but just 7 turnovers this year. Like that plus his athleticism gives him a solid level that you can bank on. But I would still use the same word to describe Caleb that I would Baker or T-Law or a number of the guys in this tier. Erratic. Like there is an inconsistency with him that is really significant. He is still dead last in completion percentage over expected. The accuracy is the biggest problem, right? Just missing some of these throws that he has to be making at this point. And he can still take a long time to make decisions with the football. He's still got the longest time to throw by far. And then he can escape. And like, sometimes I think the most impressive part of the play from Caleb when he gets outside the pocket is just evading the sack. And then you're like, oh my God, he's got his eyes downfield. He's got this cannon of an arm. Surely this is going to be a chunk play. And then he's just not that accurate throwing on the run, so he misses. So I just find him to be inconsistent. And I think he's very talented. And I think there are some people who will look at the Bears and what they've done and how that offense is humming and say Caleb has to be higher. But the run game is carrying that offensive overhaul. Ben Johnson said just last week, we're winning in spite of our passing game, not because of it. They've been the best rushing attack in football since their bye after the first 4 weeks. Caleb is still just 22nd in yards per pass attempt. So I just need to see more polish. I need to see more dependable stuff from him week after week. And that's why, like, as we were talking about T-Law, man, I do think T-Law is a better drop back passer. I think he's a better processor. Like I could talk myself into having him above Caleb. I think they both fall into a similar tier of very talented, still need to figure a lot of stuff out in terms of putting it together week after week. Caleb is obviously much younger, so he gets more of a pass there, but not really relevant in my rankings of how good they are right now.
Oh no, you have T-Law 19, Caleb 17.
Yes, and I have Brock 18.
I think Caleb's figuring it out. Like I see those stretches from Caleb. Maybe this is what you guys are talking about with T-Law that maybe I just don't see because he's in his 6th season and I'm just kind of tired of him. But like the halves that we get from Caleb, like
5th season, fact check 5th season. We can't make him older than he is.
My fault. I see the flashes with Caleb and they do like just intrigue me so much. I agree with you. Like the consistency is why he can't be higher and why he isn't for me. The mechanics, the accuracy, but he is a special playmaker. And like when he does, I just think it's imminent that Caleb's going to be a top 10 quarterback in this league. And some of the throws he can make.
Oh, insane.
It's just like stuff that other guys, and maybe this is what the point you guys are making with like T-Law, but like he just does stuff that other quarterbacks in the league just aren't capable of. The sack evasion is best in the league. I think like if I had to have a guy to, I mean, it's
better than the big three.
Caleb's ridiculous, dude. His legs are crazy.
Yeah, he's really, really good.
He has
the
best.
You said the best in the league.
Let me say,
if I got to pick 2 guys to get out of a sack,
let me say this: he has the best acceleration of any quarterback in the NFL today. He gets up to top speed, maybe other than Lamar. Like he gets up to top speed so quickly. That's his advantage, and so I think his sack evasion then is top 3 in the league. I would say today, concretely, because I don't want to disrespect the other big guys, but he can make those game-breaking special plays that other quarterbacks just aren't capable of. That being said, his floor is a little bit lower, like half to half, because he can have these disastrous accuracy issues and stuff. So I split the fence. That being said, I think the second half of this year has been encouraging. I've got him at 15. I think that feels right for Caleb and his talents.
There's a lot of bad quarterbacks that get compared to Josh Allen or John Elway or Peyton Manning. Because they sucked their rookie years, right? They were terrible their rookie years, and look at how much better they got. And a lot of times it's undeserved, like it's Viking fans saying about it with McCarthy. And it's like, McCarthy is just not going to be John Elway, like I promise. Caleb could be, and this is 100% crowning him too early, putting him at 13 when the results just don't show it. I mean, with my Baker stats, I can cherry pick. Like, look at his success rate. It's down amongst the Browns. It's down amongst the Titans and whoever the Vikings, these terrible teams this season. And I can cherry pick because one spot ahead of the Buccaneers is the Bears, right? In terms of consistency, in terms of accuracy, like all those problems that exist with my 23rd ranked guy exist with my 13th ranked guy, Caleb. The difference is Caleb is just a freak of nature, and I think he's on a path where he's going to get scary. And I've just bought stock in it to the point where I'm like, if we're ranking these guys as assets and guys I'd want on my team, like Caleb is in the top dozen or so, borderline top dozen. I think he's in a tier kind of with Lawrence and Stroud. Honestly, I think of those three as like really talented young players who have had stretches of just like unforgivable statistical output or certain disastrous plays or games. Like, I think all three of those guys, you know, you can make a statistical argument that all three of them are overrated. And I think when I watch them that they're not.
Yeah. I mean, I think Caleb long-term is a different conversation than Caleb right now.
Sure.
Because he's got all the upside in the world to harness. I just think it doesn't happen all at once. It's been a good year of progress. The situation has gotten so much better. I think Ben Johnson is the best thing that can happen to Caleb. But in terms of just like the consistency, he's still lacking enough where I have him just outside my top half. That being said, more than 2 hours in, fellas, are we getting into the top half? Are we ready to do it? Has everybody cleared through their 17 spot? If so,
yes.
All right, Logan, let's get it kicked off with your 16. Who has the honor?
Yeah, so I have Jared Goff here in my 16 spot, and I know this may be controversial compared to like somebody like Caleb. Bro, I just don't trust Jared Goff in a big game. I think Goff is going to shit his pants. Like, Goff has reached that level to me. He has almost reached a level of, I'm starting to feel how I felt about Dak Prescott, about Jared Goff.
Ooh, what a comparison to use, because you were so wrong about Dak.
Well, I'm saying I am viewing Dak more positively, and Goff is moving into this like...
This just sets up for an incredible Jared Goff redemption arc is all I'm saying.
I'm just saying,
Goff
dude,
did
in any
just
big
beat
spot, Jared Goff has
Dallas
shit
in a
his
big game.
pants. Like... In the I just think in a big game in cold weather in the playoffs, Goff is probably going to throw 3 or 4 interceptions, and he doesn't bring any of this kind. And I get it. I understand the Goff brings a level of consistency in pocket passing, and he's got an incredible arm and is great within timing and in structure of this Detroit offense. Like, I understand the appeal of Goff, but it's like with that, I am getting none of this kind of special play creation that I get from any of these top guys. He has less play creation and extension than a Sam Darnold even, right?
For sure. Oh, God, yeah.
Pressure gets home, Jared Goff is getting swallowed up and eaten alive. And we've seen him be successful even when the running game isn't going, right? Like a couple of weeks ago, Goff had an incredible game through the air. I also know that, again, if pressure gets home, if it's cold weather or whatever it is, I don't want Jared Goff in a big spot. That's my take about Goff. That's why he's at 16. I would rather have Caleb Williams in a big game with his propensity to make a big-time kind of special play. I get it. The floor is much lower with a guy like Caleb, but I feel like, and I get that, I just feel like under duress in a big spot, I don't want Jared Goff. That's my take.
Under duress is the big issue with him, where like he just really is not completing passes moved off of his spot much at all, and it's hard to live with that. It's hard to say that he justifies his contract when it's that. I think even against Dallas, he did make some good throws with pressure closing, some clutch throws with pressure closing in, but I also think some like deep shots, some hard throws to Tesla were off the mark, and overall, I just don't think he creates a ton of surplus value up-end quarterback contracts. So I have Goff at 14. I think that he's a very acceptable starter. I think he's above average with his timing and his poise and his accuracy. But I think that those things can even be a little bit overstated with Goff sometimes. Like he's not Tom Brady. Like the quotes that make him seem like, oh man, he's just that. Like there's just nobody better in the whole league at operating on time and in structure and in rhythm. Like I think that's all he can do. So those things get really amplified, but I still think there are probably some nits to pick. And I just don't want Tom, like that archetype of player even. There's nice things about him. There's things to appreciate for sure. But I think that you got to kind of let go of that archetype a little bit. And I think that, you know, when Frank Ragnow retires and there's more pressure with the offensive line now, it just, you've seen these things crop up, and I think Goff is I don't know. I think he's more fine than transcendent. So yeah, 14, middle of the pack.
I have him 11, and I
Mhm.
wonder if collectively, and I would even include myself in this to some extent, but maybe not today because I've got him the highest ranked. We punish him a little bit too much for his limitations, for the fact that I think here we're all mobility creation build. You got to be able to evade sacks, get outside the pocket. And like Goff is the antithesis of that. I do think he's about as good as you can be while being a zero in that aspect of the game.
Yeah.
Though. And like that matters. It's the reason that I don't think you can argue he's top 10. But the reality is, if you were just going to look at the numbers, I mean, you would think Jared Goff is a top 3 quarterback on the planet, right?
Yeah,
Like,
if we were going to
since the start of
moneyball
last
it,
season.
yeah.
Right. He's number 1 in passing yards. He's number 1 in passing touchdowns. He's second in yards per attempt. He's second in passer rating. I think the things that he's exceptional at, he really is exceptional at. And like, we know what those things are. He can stand in the pocket. He can rip those passes over the middle of the field. He is money there. When he is not pressured, he is third in EPA per dropback. On quick throws, under 2.5 seconds time to throw, he is second in EPA per dropback. Out of play action, he is second in EPA per dropback, right? Like, he is giving you A+ value in these areas, but they're not the most valuable things, right? The most valuable things are what the superheroes do, which is off schedule, out of structure. That's much less replicable. And that is exactly where Goff is limited, where on non-play action throws, straight dropbacks, he's just 16th in EPA per dropback average. Throws that go over 2.5 seconds time to throw, 15th in EPA per dropback. Under pressure, 18th in EPA per dropback. And I think you said it really well, Theo. I mean, if you move him off his spot, if it's an off-platform kind of throw, like any sort of movement that is required from Jared Goff is going to lead to him struggling. Can't extend plays, can't create. And I think because of that, the floor for him is low. A bad Jared Goff game can look bad. You combine the fact that like he is sort of confined to just having to try to fit a throw in sometimes because he can't move around and maybe predetermine a read. That can lead to some bad picks. But I think 9 out of 10 games, Jared Goff is really good, or 8 out of 10 games, whatever it is. And like, I think there's a reason that all the numbers are as insanely good as they are. And it's not just the offensive situation, because we can all look at the Lions and we're like, oh, they're not the same offensively this year. They average 30 points per game. They're top 5 in points per drive, like top 5 in passing efficiency. I just think the bar that has been set for Detroit offense is so high. And we're all like so unmoved by a great Jared Goff regular season because we just pencil it in and we're like, okay, show us it in the playoffs, or show us that you can win in these tough circumstances when you get pressured. And I get that. And again, that's why I don't have him in my top 10. But I do just think he's significantly more consistent than some of these other guys who still have so much they need to put together in terms of that consistent drop back passing game, who like we can say, oh man, it's easier to be a great play action passer, right? As a statue in the pocket. But like, none of these other guys are really doing that at the level that Goff is. Nobody below him for sure is doing it at that level. So that's where I end up being a little higher on him.
Yeah, I don't think 11 is crazy at all.
That's my Jared Goff defense. Go Bears. Theo, who is in 15? Is that open for you? One spot behind
Yeah,
Goff?
so I had Purdy at 16, and then I have Jalen Hurts at 15.
Let's have the conversation.
I think Jalen Hurts is super mid. I think he was mid when they won the Super Bowl. I think they were the 32 straight drop back passing team last year. They just really didn't do much of it. It was a lot of run game. It was a lot of rollouts, like things that don't necessarily put the game in Jalen Hurts' hands. And I think that was telling. And I think that he clearly got overrated when they won the Super Bowl by some people. He's not a great scrambler. He's not a great extender. He doesn't have the greatest vision over the middle of the field, no doubt. But I also would push back on the idea that he can't do these things, or these things just aren't on tape for him. Like you saw in the overtime game against the Chargers, he ripped a dig and it was there. I think the game before versus the Bears, like he had some really nice throws to AJ Brown over the middle of the field versus man on these digs. And I think it's important to remember with him, like, he's limited, he's bad at certain things, but I don't think there's anything where he's just like an absolute and total, which is probably the conversation around him, where it's like he can push and he can throw deep to AJ Brown and that's it. Those are his specialties. Those are his like really elite traits, but they're not all that he has. Like he can do a little bit more. I think he is a well-rounded quarterback, but He's not an all-encompassing athlete. He's not all-encompassing reading the field. He's I think, a horribly designed offense right now in Philly, which is limiting to him. So I'm not really willing to put him like bottom 10 or anything like that. I've got him at 15.
I've got Hurts at 12, and he was a tough guy to rank for me. I agree with you. I think the offensive infrastructure is the biggest issue. The coordinator, he's had 10 coordinators now in 10 years of football ever since college. Every single year he has had a new guy calling plays, and I think Patullo sucks. So I don't want to make this year just the be-all, end-all, close the book on Jalen Hurts. I do think he got overrated after the Super Bowl. That being said, the reason that Hurts is at 12 for me, and I thought he would be like the 16th guy, I have seen Hurts play in a big game and ball out. And quarterbacks, minimum 2 games played in the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts is number 1 in total TDs per game. He's number 2 in total yards per game. He's number 1 in completion percentage. And he's number 8 in passer rating. Like, I have seen Hurts in 2 big games, and he has played damn near flawlessly. And I can't just let that go unnoticed. I think his runs overall have probably been underwhelming when you think about what he did on the runs to the Super Bowl. But in the 2 biggest games I have seen Jalen Hurts play in his career, he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the big game. I can't just overlook that. When I've seen Jared Goff in a big game and he shit his pants. I've seen Sam Darnold in a big game and he shit his pants. I've seen Dak Prescott in a big game and he shit his pants. I have Dak Prescott above Jalen Hurts, to be clear, but like, I can't just absolve those things. I have seen Hurts in a big spot. And I just don't think he is the sole reason for the Eagles' offensive regression. I think he is in a privileged spot in terms of talent, but I don't think he's the sole reason the offensive regressed. I don't think he's a great regular season quarterback. And so if you were skewing that, I understand that, but I am also including, I want you to go on a playoff run for me. I'd rather have Hurts in the playoffs than some of these other guys, because I know that can get overstated, and I don't want this to be the only argument, but the chief argument for me with Hurts is I think Hurts is a big game player, and I don't like hanging my hat on just that because he's got a lot of bad regular season tape and offensive results. I just trust him in the playoffs more than a Darnold or a Goff right now with what they've given me, and part of that is due to the physical abilities that he has that those guys don't.
Yeah, there's nothing hypothetical about his ability to win a Super Bowl, right? Like, you can build a roster around him, you can design an offense around him that melts your face and that wins the whole thing. And the fact that he's been to 2 since 2022 and played really well and won one of them, I do think that matters. I do think that matters, because the question is, like, can you win a Super Bowl with Trevor Lawrence? I have no idea. I have absolutely no clue, right? It might be no. Can you win with Hurts? The idea is yes. Yes, you can. Like, there's no debating it.
Yeah, I understand that, but then you could also say you could win a Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson, and it's like a team sport. We all know that, but there's 3 phases of the game. There's 2 sides of the ball.
I mean, there's a difference, dude. Hurts actually played his ass off in both Super Bowls.
No, he did.
It's not like Trent Dilfer or Brad Johnson ever did that.
No,
the Bucs had 5 picks in that game. The Ravens had 5 picks in their game. Like,
my thing is still to value 2 great games up against 50-something that are much more average, mediocre, whatever you want to call it, doesn't make sense to me. I have Jalen Hurts at 14. I think that Philly's offense being 23rd in points per drive, 26th in yards per drive is just totally unacceptable with their talent. And I think there are a lot of people who try to just exculpate Jalen Hurts from that and blame it on everything else. And I understand frustrations with the play calling 100%. I think it's bad. I understand the offensive line. It's still good, but it has not been the same elite unit that it was. I understand the run game has not been nearly the same as the ridiculous run game that it was last year. But to act like there is any top 10 quarterback in the league who would get any sort of pass for delivering these offensive results, these bad offensive results with this offensive talent, with this top tier receiving duo, I just think that's nuts. And I think that's disingenuous. And I do think that Hurts has core limitations that lead to a lot of these underwhelming, disappointing results. I think his biggest issue is that he often plays the quarterback position very tentatively. Like, he holds onto that ball for the 3rd longest time in the NFL. And he doesn't hold onto that ball because he's doing crazy scrambling stuff, right? We think of him as this really good rushing quarterback, but he's 9th in scramble rushing yards this year. He's behind Baker Mayfield. Like, he hasn't been upper echelon in terms of creating there. He just does not approach the game like the elite passers do. He is a slower processor. He doesn't make big time throws. He doesn't throw guys open with a lead anticipation, great special arm talent, finding an angle in a tight window with a ton of zip. Like, he doesn't do that. And that's why I'm not moved by him keeping interceptions low, which seems to be like the thing that people praise most about Jalen Hurts. And that's fine when you got a great defense and they can hold the other team to 14 and you win with 17 because you didn't turn the ball over. But that doesn't actually mean that your offense is playing well or that your quarterback is playing very well. Like, he leaves throws on the table. And the offense still is not producing, even if they are winning these tight margin games more on the back of their defense. So he's just not really a creator because he doesn't make those next level throws.
You do think
he's not great throwing on the move.
This is the worst coordinator he's had during his Eagles tenure. You would agree, right?
Really bad coordinator, for sure. But Logan, like, if you look at any of the top 10 quarterbacks and you dropped them in this situation, they would be leading to better results. And it's just weird to me that, like, obviously Hurts' dialogue is very divisive, but a lot of people just like keep him immune to these criticisms. It's like, because he's won a Super Bowl, we can't talk about the very obvious fact that he is somebody who limits this offense in a number of these ways. And I think the more you put on his plate, the more his limitations become clear. You ask him to throw 40 times in a game. You ask him to be a volume drop back passer like he just did versus the Chargers. There's a significant likelihood he's going to make some bad decisions. He's going to miss on some key throws. He's going to have a bad game. Like, I'm not going to say he's going to have 5 turnovers every time, but the stat that's been going around is they've lost their last 5 games when he throws 30 plus times. Like, these are just not the realities of how we talk about top 10 quarterbacks. We don't talk about working around.
You throw when you're losing. You throw when you're losing. Like,
well, that is true,
but
right. But if you were going to compare that to other top 10 guys, like, I don't know, most top 10 guys throw 30 plus times every week, right? And Jalen Hurts is just somebody who the ball is not put in his hands that much. Where are you going to ask, Logan?
I mean, and the Eagles haven't been able to run the ball at all this year. I think the offensive line has regressed a little bit over last season. Like, I think these things are true with Hurts' situation as well. And I agree with a lot of the criticisms you're making about Hurts. I think he is a flawed he's not a top 10 quarterback. He's not a top 10 quarterback for me. I just want to ask you this. Like, do you not value the Super Bowls at all? Like, that's important to me.
I value them a little bit, but again, I think it's important to keep the big picture, you know? Like, Steve Young was a terrible big game player until he wasn't. Peyton Manning was a terrible big game player until he wasn't. And by the way, even Peyton, actually, his big game performances get inflated because he won Super Bowls even when he was bad. Like, I just think it's such a small sample size thing. And I am always going to lean on the side of, unless you can like show me a concrete skill issue or a skill that is leading a guy to be better or worse in these big games that I believe is going to hold up consistently, then I'm just not going to put as much stock into it as other people. And I'm certainly not going to put as much stock into the wins specifically when overall, over the last 4 years, Jalen Hurts has had the most stacked roster in football. And this year, you may still look and say they're 8-5, but their offense is bad by every measure because wins are not a quarterback stat. It's not even exclusively an offense stat. Like, I just find that most of the pro Hurts arguments are either overly based on team success, which involves so many other factors, or it's all about him balling out in 2 Super Bowls, which is great. But again, it's just not going to move me as much as it is other people when it's 2 games up against a 3-season sample size of a guy mostly looking just okay. So I think Hurts is pretty good. Like, Theo, you mentioned the things he does at a really high level. He's a monster short yardage rusher. Monster. He usually doesn't turn the ball over much. Part of that is, again, what he's willing to take on as a passer. But that's nice. He throws a really good deep ball overall. Like, he's just generally athletically gifted and efficient enough to where he's a good enough quarterback. What I'm saying is he does not pick up the slack or elevate an offense like the guys above him. And that's why I land on him here. And maybe I'm focusing too much on the drawbacks with this crowd I'm speaking to, where you guys have him 12th and 15th, you know, like, that's very, very reasonable to me. I'm speaking more to the broader public who was trying to tell us that Jalen Hurts was top 5 coming into this year, that he was clearly top 10, when I just don't think his actual level of play justifies that. I think we have a lot of evidence that says he's not in that group.
He's got a low spin rate. The ball doesn't
low spin rate
tight off his hand. I saw a pass. I thought it got batted. And then I went and saw the replay. It didn't get batted. It just got caught by the wind coming off of his hand and just immediately died. Like, damn, it really didn't get batted. That's a problem. Is the arm talent is kind of low, but I think I don't know. The Super Bowls I do value a little bit. I do value a little bit like balling out on that stage and being the two of them. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
yeah, I think I couldn't really get him much higher than 15. Like 15 is as high as I could give him, and then I think that's even giving him some benefit of the doubt, which I do think he deserves because Patullo is so bad. But
Yeah.
well, let's move on.
Yeah, we'll move on. I do think he's more consistent than like a Baker. That's why I have him one spot higher. And the Super Bowl performances, that factors in a little bit. I think if we were ranking purely how quarterbacks have played this year, Jalen Hurts would be lower on this list. But I do give him credit for some of the things he does really well. And that's why I land on him at 14. Okay. Who is next for you? No, Theo, you have Goff 14.
Yep.
Logan, who's next for you?
I have Sam Darnold, and I debated for a long time where I should have Sam Darnold. I thought he might end up as a top 10 quarterback for me with how he spins it. He's got a great arm. He's looked really good in Seattle this year. Honestly, I'm not even I'll keep this short and sweet. Bozo trait, Jared Goff, less extent. I like Darnold more than Goff. I need to see Darnold do it under pressure, do it in a big spot. I know what he can give me during the regular season. I think he's got a great arm. But it's kind of the similar case that I would make to a Goff versus a Hurts. Like, at the end of the day, when Darnold has played in a big game, he has pooped his pants, and Hurts hasn't. Like, for a lot of guys, I know that sometimes can be an oversimplification, and Darnold has put 2 really good years of tape on film, great regular season offenses. I haven't seen him do it in a big game. I need to see that first. But I really do like Darnold, and I think he's just an upper echelon starter. I do clearly like him more than Goff. There's just a little bit more wiggle in his game.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, man. He just doesn't. That wiggle matters a lot to me. Like, it may not seem like much. Goff is, you're talking about I can't remember who you were saying being a giraffe earlier, Theo. That is how Goff feels to me sometimes. Just like, he's not Kirk level mime kind of statue level, but Goff is pretty immobile. That little bit of mobility difference does make a big difference.
I think it's a significant mobility difference even. So where is Darnold for you exactly, Logan? What number?
Sorry, Darnold is 13. He is 1 spot above Baker. He is 3 spots above Goff, and he is right behind Hurts.
Where does Darnold land for you, Theo?
I have him at 10.
So do I.
I have him at 10. I think that he still has, I mean, I don't think he's going to win MVP or anything like that, but I do think that he still probably has a sleeper case for that this year. The Rams game took him out of contention, kind of like Purdy versus the 49ers a few years back, where it's like, you just can't afford, when you're Darnold and you just don't have like this crazy reputation as an MVP type of guy, you can't really afford to slip up at all. But like, man, he's still leading the league in yards per attempt and net yards per attempt this year. Like, he's been such a beautiful deep ball thrower. He's avoided sacks to a level that's kind of surprised me behind that offensive line. Now, some of that is with the scheme and all the play action that they run. And I think that's what keeps him at 10 instead of like 5 is I do think there is some like protection of Sam Darnold going on, but he's just been so accurate. He gets through his reads really quickly. I do think he's like Goff with, like you said, Logan, with a little bit more mobility. I think in terms of like pure pocket passer guys, when you think about that kind of trait and skill set, like Darnold is the top guy on my list who probably Stafford is the top guy on my list, but Darnold's not too far behind him, honestly.
Yeah, and Stafford absolutely is in that same group of like guys who are 100%. Not mobile at all. But,
100%.
But
Darnold is a lot more mobile.
Yeah, Stafford's arm is just like so fucking ridiculous, and he's just so smart. And I do think he's definitely up a level. But yeah, I have Darnold at number 10. I just think he's really, really good. I think he's got a really good arm. He's been the best play action passer statistically in the NFL, Goff-like in that regard, right? He's been killer passing out of these heavy personnel looks, and the play action is heavily related with that. And I just think he's gotten better in every way. Last year, he was like a top 15 guys where I landed on him. And he has dramatically reduced his sack rate, which was a big problem for him last year. He has just become a quicker decision maker. His processing has gotten better. You mentioned how elite the numbers are with him, Theo. I mean, the connection with JSN is so explosive, and obviously he's got a JSN, but the deep ball game from him has just been money. Like, he's a guy who, this is Goff, like, I think is so good 90% of the time is going to show up at the top of a lot of these statistical categories, But the floor with him is also really low. Even though he doesn't have that same statue concern, he is still not one of the upper echelon creators. And it's just hard to forget about like some of these really, really bad showings that he has had. The last 2 games of last year, when Minnesota scored 9 points in back-to-back performances, and he just got overwhelmed by those pass rushes and the extremely aggressive blitzing from Detroit. And I think he's a better player this year. I think he's just improved. But obviously the Rams game, him having 4 picks, like that was really brutal. I think sometimes if you disguise coverages, get quick pressure, he doesn't have that ability to escape that separates the top guys, and he can force some balls, and that's where things can get really bad for him. Most games are going to be awesome. The floor is too low for me to have him higher than this. But yeah, I think he's just shown me more good football than the guys who are below him.
He's got to have the best win percentage since 2022.
He does. Wait, since 2022?
Since 2022.
Does he? I mean, well, the last 2 years, he's what? 20.
The last 2 years, he's
24-6.
24-6. So yeah, over the last 2 years, definitely. But even if you stretch it back farther than that, Sam Darnold's turnaround really happened in Carolina in 2022 is when he started playing well, which I think is always funny to think about.
Darnold is 78.3%. Rest of the top 5: Hurts, Allen, Mahomes, Knicks.
Bro wins. I mean, that's not the bro wins. Yeah, he wins regular season games at least. So
and
I think
he's
that's
winning
crazy.
While propelling very good offenses that are pass heavy attacks. You know, he's got a lot on his plate, and he's winning,
he's first in success rate this year. He's fourth in EPA.
The number 1 rushing attempt offense in the NFL, right?
They do
run
protect
it a lot,
him.
but they don't run
protect him.
But they don't run it efficiently. They run to set up the passing game.
Yeah.
They run to set up the passing game, which has been the most efficient in the NFL. Okay, so I am still hanging back here with my number 13, which is CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud is the definition of pretty good to me. He's got a good arm. He's got good pocket presence. He moves well. He throws on the run pretty well. His decision-making is pretty good. He's got a lot of B and B plus traits with nothing elite. I think the numbers are not going to be super impressive with him because he's been put in obscenely difficult circumstances with a horrible O-line, horrible run game year after year. And the fact that he is still able to produce like decent numbers is impressive because a lot of guys couldn't do that in that context. I do think everybody above him like has either excelled so much in the right situation, if that's a Goff, right, who does have a couple A+ traits, even if he also has more limitations than a guy like CJ, or they're just like the kind of special guys who have shown that ability to really overcome any situation. But I just think Stroud is good. I know there's been some panic about, is he regressing? I really don't think so. I still trust him. Houston asks him to pretty much save them consistently, and he does a good enough job of it to be in my 13 spot. Where do you guys land on CJ?
I have him at 11. I have him just ahead of Lawrence. Again, I said that Lawrence and Stroud and Williams are kind of the like potential brothers where none of them have really eye-popping statistics this year at least, or really even the last 2 years, you could say. Stroud took 52 sacks in 2024, right? And that's always been a bit of an issue with him, I think, to this day, is pocket navigation with him isn't high end, but man, his anticipation is A+. Like, he can rip some throws so early and be accurate. He has unbelievable throws out of structure across his body, like looking a little Mahomes, Josh Allen-esque. Like,
he was out Mahomesing Mahomes last week.
He was. And he's got the in-structure ability. So I think Stroud still has all the potential to be an MVP winner, like at some point in his career, if they can figure out the line and offensive coordinator situation. But these last 2 years, he's taken enough sacks and maybe his accuracy has taken enough of a hit where it's like when Darnold and Love and Stafford and Maye and these guys I have in my top 10 are so efficient, Stroud is on the outside looking in for now, but I still really have a high opinion of Stroud.
Yeah, I almost completely agree with you. I've got him at number 10, but I feel like he's still made worse by this situation. I think they've figured out something with Jayden Higgins, and like Nico Collins is good, and I like Dalton Schultz. I just think CJ is propping this offense up, whereas like if you dropped CJ, and you can't do this one for one, but if you drop CJ into Seattle, I think they feast. I think if you drop CJ in who else? Detroit, I think I think CJ is propping up a pretty bad offense for Houston. But that being said, I think they've been a lot better than they were at the beginning of this year. And I agree with Theo. Like the potential, I still feel with CJ, and he's got a ridiculous arm, and I like his frame, man. CJ's a sturdy ass guy. So yeah, I'm a little bit higher on CJ. I think he's looked a little worse over the past 2 years because of Houston's infrastructure.
Nobody's going to acknowledge the Davis Mills run.
He did go 3-1. He did.
He did. No, I like CJ. I like CJ a lot. I don't know if I agree with the drop him in Seattle and they'd be better point, because I think as like that drop back play action heavy passer, I think Darnold is better at that specifically, which is what that offense needs a lot. But Detroit, yeah, I think CJ's numbers would look great in a situation like that. Like that's a really good offensive situation. Okay, so my number 12 is Jayden. We already talked about that. Are we still missing anybody outside the top 10 for you guys, or are we in?
Nope, we're at 9.
That group.
Who did you have at 15, Carson?
15 was Baker.
Okay. Then, yeah, I am caught up to 9. I believe Theo is caught up to 9, and so am I.
All right. So, Theo, I'll go to you. Who's in your 9 spot?
Jordan Love.
Same here.
Jordan Love.
Same here.
I kind of thought that because it's like above Love on my list, you would start getting into hot takes. Love is better than Stafford. Love is better than Burrow. So 9 is a good spot for him, I think, because... And he really could be. He really could be. I mean, I think there's so much about Love that's underrated. I think the consistency with him is underrated. I mean, since he became the starter, it's just good year, good year, good year. And I think his ability to bring them back when they need to pass, like 2-minute situations, like they've been kind of floundering in some first halves this year. And then it's a 2-minute drill. Everybody knows they're going to pass and they just march down the field. They get in tempo. Everybody knows they're going to pass. They just march down the field. Like, he's somebody who can buy himself time with that back foot ability, that drift back ability. He's someone who can test tight windows. He's got a cannon arm. He's hard to sack because he's fast and he's big. He's accurate. He's protecting the football. The Packers have the fewest turnovers in the league this year. Part of that is because the running backs haven't really fumbled either. But part of that is the fact that he only has 4 picks.
He's got the lowest turnover percentage of any quarterback.
Yeah. I think, and he avoids sacks too. I mean, it's really him and Josh Allen when you look at the last 2 years of guys who avoid picks and sacks at the same time. So, like, I think Jordan Love might be underrated by all of us, putting him even here at 9. Like, there is a potential for more. I do think, like, there are some bizarre misses from him still, where maybe his accuracy isn't to the level of like Allen or Burrows or Herbert's. I think there are still kind of the brain fart picks. Like the 4 picks that he's thrown this year are all like, what are you doing, dude? Like you cost us the Browns game with that interception. Like we never should have lost the Panthers game with that interception. Like, and he is somebody that LaFleur hasn't fully taken off the leash either. Like that their run rates are pretty high. He's somebody who does benefit a lot from kind of these play action Shanahan tree schemes. But it's funny that he gets kind of dinged for that in the general public's eye. Like, oh, he's literally number 1 in EPA right now. He's the most efficient quarterback in the league. And it's like, oh, LaFleur's scheme. But no one looks at Stafford and says like, well, he's the MVP front runner, right? He's less efficient than Jordan Love. He's turned the ball over more than Jordan Love. Like,
you think any of that has to do with like Willis stepping in and looking good?
Willis stepped in and looked good, but that gets overrated because it was against the Colts and the Titans for 2 games, and he was running it a lot. Like, I do think that in the general public's eyes, the fact that they went 2-0 with Willis, like, yeah, it does. It does.
I just have heard people make that when they're talking negatively about Love, and I'm like,
I mean, people said that after the Giants game when he was in for 2 plays and scored a touchdown. They're like, well, there you go. Like, Malik Willis, just you put him in and good things start to happen for you. And it was like literally 2 plays and they were already in the red zone. It's like, come on, guys. Like it's not really that serious. But I think Love is a easy franchise quarterback with a bullet.
Yeah. I don't really have anything to add. I think Theo hit it on the head. I feel the exact same way about Jordan Love, and I think he tends to get underrated by NFL fans. I think the most impressive thing, man, is that like the fact that, and I respect Christian Watson and I respect Tucker Kraft, but like the fact that you guys don't have like a I don't know, a standout guy. Like so many of these quarterbacks have number one bona fide
Right, they did under
superstar.
Jamar Chase.
Yeah, Burrow's got Chase and Higgins, right? He doesn't have a JSN. And again, I don't want to disrespect these guys. I think Watson's excellent. I think Dobbs is really good. I think the receiving room as a whole is pretty talented and has good depth, but like he doesn't have an A1 guy, and he is still producing great offensive results year in, year out. I don't know is it just expectations? Do they want him to be Aaron Rodgers, Theo?
I think some of the playoff things are what's holding him back. Like the Philly game last year, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, some really, really bad ones. He had a chance to knock off San Francisco and threw across his body that interception. I really think the playoff gaffes are hurting him more than other quarterbacks, just because the picks like that just stand out so much in your mind. And it's fair. Like you can't go on a playoff run when it's not a series, you lose and you're out, and throw just back-breaking interceptions, right? But he also has the only upset win as a 7 seed in league history when he averaged 15 adjusted yards per attempt in that game. I think it's the number 1 EPA playoff game in modern history. So he has one of the great playoff games of all time, albeit the wild card round shouldn't count, to be honest with you. But yeah, his playoff performance, it's not just down, it's fair to call it up and down. But anyway, that is why I have him at 9, those meatballs in the playoffs. But some people have him at 30 because of those meatballs in the playoffs.
I think it's also exactly what you said, where like the turnovers are more memorable than they are actually a problem, because he keeps the number of turnovers very low. But like when he does give you one, it's going to stick out in your mind because, it might be a really bad one. But I think you said it all. I mean, I think the efficiency numbers are fantastic with him. I think the traits are great. He's got really good pocket presence. He is one of those elite sack evasion guys, super low sack rate, super big arm, can make throws off platform, can move, hits on big plays, rarely turns it over. Like Jordan Love is just awesome. And I think that's the point that we're at. And I agree with you. His consistency is underrated. This year has been different for me. His numbers have always looked good, but they've been better this year as there's been more on his plate. Like I think if you look at the last couple years, the Packers offense was more built off of the rushing attack first, right? What that sets up in terms of play action and whatnot. This year, they've been a more pass-heavy offense. The run game hasn't been as efficient, and the passing game has been so good, even as these receivers have been in and out, that he's leading them to be like a top 6 offense in terms of points per drive. Like, I still think the top 8 guys are a little bit more consistent. I just have a little bit more faith in them, and now we're getting into a pretty special tier of quarterback play, but I just think, like, the combination of physical tools, improved polish is really good with Love, and he's just flat out better than everybody below him.
It kind of surprises me you don't have him over Burrow with the case you were making last time.
This has nothing to do with that. My case last time was Burrow's availability freaks me out. I'm not factoring in availability on this list.
I don't know. I mean, a part of your argument was like the mobility. I don't know. You were kind of making an argument that Love might just be better than Burrow right now.
Don't tell me what argument I was making when I'm the one who made it. That is not what I said.
I know that you had factored in his injuries, but you were making a pretty big case about like his mobility and creation compared to Joe.
I did not mention, hold on. I said the reason that I am a little lower on Burrow is I don't think he is as good, ever has been as good as the big 3. And the reason for that is the difference in just freak athletic traits and creation ability, where those guys are superhumans. Never did I in any way say I think Jordan Love is as good or better than Joe Burrow.
You definitely made like an athletic case as that was an edge that Love had over Burrow.
Yeah, he is a better athlete. He's not a better quarterback.
And Love has been better than Burrow like this season. Like if this trend continues, like if this whole season goes on again next year, if these results repeat and Burrow gets hurt again and Jordan Love like stacks this kind of season, like Jordan Love is, I think, knocking on the door.
Here's what I'll say, Logan. This is what I said in reference to Burrow. I said, I think that Jordan Love still has the room to improve from where he's at now, even because he obviously is still only in his 3rd year as a starter, even though he is 27 years old. Like that's a factor. And he just does have these athletic gifts that, give him a really high ceiling. But no, the reason that I had Burrow where I did in our quarterbacks to build around is because he's missed the 2nd most games of any quarterback since he came into the league due to injury. And that's significant. But
I don't know.
Who's number one? Who's number 1?
Dak. Dak has missed 1 more game due to injury. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to the 8th spot now. We all agreed on Love at 9. Who's next?
I got Stafford next at 8.
I got Dak.
I have Dak as well. So talk to us about Stafford, Theo.
I think Stafford and Dak are like very, very similar players. I think Dak still has a little bit more mobility than Stafford does. I think Stafford is really good. Like his arm is crazy. The eye manipulation. I mean, he's got to be the best ever at it. Like he, especially like when you factor in like he's doing it kind of on a spot. Like he's not doing the Mahomes like, oh, pump fake all over the place and then like do a hook shot kind of manipulation. It's like truly like look at the flat, rip the dig. Look at the flat, rip the dig. Like he did it to win the Super Bowl. It's ridiculous. He opens up windows for receivers downfield. He's crazy. He really is a hooper. But I think that Stafford has gotten maybe a little overrated in the sense that he's not my like MVP front runner this year, where he's behind Allen and Darnold and Maye and Loves by EPA per play this year, which is a stat I really value. I think his accuracy over the last 2 years has been probably more up and down than it's sometimes given credit for. And I just think like he is a stiff old man at this point. And if you were to pressure him, he is someone who's more of like, he can fold a little bit easier than maybe you give it credit for. Like he used to be a very tough, like son of a gun, right? Like getting hit, getting just absolutely lit up, standing in there. I think he can fade a little bit more. I think he's a little bit more kind of underneath pilled versus blitz and versus pressure. I think his touchdown to interception ratio like is great, but it has to do with Devonta Adams getting the separation in the red zone. I think he's a great quarterback. He's as good as an old quarterback can be, but I do think his age has made him a little bit more limited in certain ways than the guys I have above him. But he's playing at an unbelievable level. Puka and Adams really help him though.
Yeah. Really well said. I mean, I agree with the vast majority of that. I have Stafford only one spot higher at 7. Like you mentioned, I mean, 35 touchdowns, 4 picks, best in the NFL, 113 passer rating, best in the NFL. Still just like a God tier pocket passer, God tier arm talent. But I mean, he does have a great offensive infrastructure, great play caller, really good run game, good line, insane receivers specifically. And the reason that I have both him and Dak in this 7-8 range is I just don't think athletically they compare to the top 6. I mean, these are guys who can really, really move, who can really create plays out of structure. And these guys are just older. Stafford and Dak, I think they're both about as good in terms of pocket passing as you can be. I think Dak's processing is just exceptional. I think his pocket presence is exceptional. I mean, he's got an elite pressure to sack rate. So that's an advantage that he does have. I mean, Stafford is 19th in EPA per dropback under pressure. He's just an old ass man, right? He's just more limited there. So there is a little bit more of that pocket mobility and outside the pocket, just a little bit with Dak, not too much at this point. But I guess what it comes down to is as much as I love Dak's aggression as a pocket passer, and I think he's super accurate in tight windows, and like he's leading the NFL in passing yards per game. He's leading a top 5 offense. He's doing that. He has 2 amazing receivers too, but he's got a little bit more pressure on him, I would say, in terms of his role within the offense than Stafford. And I trust him a lot to carry that offense. Stafford's arm talent to me, like both of these guys are so good in tight windows, but like the combination of crazy arm talent and manipulation of defenders, I just think Stafford can throw guys open in a slightly crazier way. And that's why I have him one spot higher. I think these guys have a lot in common. They're about as good as quarterbacks of their age can be. They're just not the absolute freak talents who are above them in the top 6.
I mean, I've got Dak at 8. I've got Stafford at 5. I think Stafford's just awesome still at this stage in his career. I think he's got that Hall of Fame brain, and I was talking about that Hall of Fame mind. Like this fucking guy. Dak also just has this kind of still bozo gene, man. Like
my God.
Dak's an elite pocket pass. Look, bro, he's got 3 multi-pick games this season. His last 2 playoff games, both 2 interceptions. Like Stafford,
off George Pickens' hands, who's been amazing, but literally
Stafford, I just trust to.
I think this is fair.
Crap his pants.
I think this is fair. Matthew Stafford's been the best playoff performer of the last few years.
Here's something crazy that I actually found out. So Stafford is 3rd in total yards per playoff game in a career, 8th in total TDs. Dak is number 1 in total TDs per playoff game and number 8 in total yards per playoff game. So statistically, Dak's been a pretty good engine too offensively.
Yeah,
but
a lot of garbage time in there.
there's just a faith level that I have with Stafford that he's going to come through. He's going to deliver. He's going to make the right decision. That Dak,
I get it.
and obviously I'm a Dak hater. Dak has just never given me that kind of, oh yeah, he's got it. I'm always waiting for that soul crushing interception.
Okay, so I disagree with you there. I have a shit ton of faith in both of them, but I would agree with you that Stafford is marginally steadier in terms of like been great at protecting the football this year, obviously. In big picture, I do trust him a little bit more there. I think sometimes Dak does get caught, testing a really tight window and it ends up going the other way. But I think that they're very close. So,
I think that, I might be thinking too much about the most recent Lions game with Dak, honestly, because some of the plays he had versus pressure in that game, escaping Aiden Hutchinson, like working around like a really shitty tackle situation and continuing to look downfield. I thought watching that tape, I thought I might prioritize Dak more than Stafford right now, because I think that Dak is a little bit better at floating around and avoiding this and being athletic. But I might not be valuing enough the fact that like Stafford is literally the most efficient player in the playoffs since he joined the Rams. He is the most efficient player in the playoffs since he joined the Rams. I mean, even in the years where he didn't win the Super Bowl, like they really gave that Tom Brady Bucks team
the Eagles, they were the closest to knocking them
They were
off
the closest
too.
The Eagles, yeah. They won that Bucks game against I'm thinking about Tom Brady giving them a run for their money, but then he came up with a clutch throw to Cooper Kupp on that third down to thwart the comeback. At any rate,
the Lions game that they were very close in 2023 when they made that stretch run in the regular season.
He's very scary, and I do think the Rams are my favorite to go to the Super Bowl out of the NFC and probably win the Super Bowl coming out of the NFC right now, in large part because of the way they've performed in the playoffs with Stafford. But that also comes down to faith in Sean McVay and faith in Puka Nacua and faith in Devontae Adams and Blake Corum and Kyron Williams, who are just as good of a skill position and coaching staff that you could ask for.
Yeah, and also the defense is amazing. I mean, I think the Rams just look like absolutely the best team in football, but I do trust Stafford an insane amount, which is ironic because he used to be the guy who was considered somebody who wasn't a winner, who hadn't proven it in the playoffs because he didn't get there because Detroit sucked. But Matt Stafford has been really good for a long time. He's fantastic right now and definitely a lock to be somewhere in this range. So, Logan, who's in your 7 spot then?
I've got Joe Burrow in my 7 spot.
This is beautiful. This is music to my ears that we're talking about him in the 7 range now instead of like 1.
Yeah, and actually, I think there's even more validity to the case that you were making, Carson, against Joe after the recent comments he had during that interview after his birthday, talking about he doesn't know how much longer he wants to play QB. Like it could
I was
legitimately
thinking about
be.
you saying that. I was thinking about you kind of predicting that when we talked about our guys to build around. You were like, "What if he gets miserable and is just like, I'm done with this?" And then he said that like days
literally
later.
verbatim.
Like,
I'm miserable. And I'm done with that pretty much.
Logan with the crystal ball.
Cincinnati's a poverty franchise. I've been saying it for years now. Like they are literally being propped up by Joe. So it doesn't surprise me. And I think that adds some even more credence to what we were talking about, the quarterbacks to build around. If you were lower on Joe, I think it makes more sense. That being said, as an ability right now, I think Joe, the reason he's not higher is because I don't subscribe to the thinking that Joe Burrow went to a Super Bowl, therefore he is better than all these quarterbacks that haven't been to a Super Bowl. That's my big justification, because I think that's why they would have Hurts and Burrow in these top 5 conversations. Burrow's not as talented as Herbert. He is not consistent as Matthew Stafford. He is not as talented as Drake Maye, and he is nowhere near as talented as Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, or Josh Allen. That being said, Joe Burrow is one of the premier pocket passing quarterbacks in the NFL today and in NFL history. You cannot take for granted how he can maneuver within a pocket. He has got Dan Marino, Tom Brady, Drew Brees kind of maneuverability within a shitty pocket consistently in Cincinnati. That being said, even though he is a brilliant mind, a brilliant pocket operator, and has a great arm, he is throwing to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And you need to take that into account as well, where he has got great receiving talent with him. He is a great quarterback, but like him versus a Herbert, I get Herbert hasn't done it in the playoffs. That's why he's not a top 5 guy to me yet. But he is so much more talented than Joe Burrow, can do so much more, I think, in a bad situation than Joe Burrow. I've seen Justin Herbert overcome a bad situation. I've never seen Joe Burrow overcome a bad situation. Also, that being said, Herbert is tough as nails. I know Herbert has dealt with injuries too. I've seen Herbert get dinged up and he pops right back up. That I do prefer Herbert's injury and toughness tolerance to a Burrow as well. It's very close between these two guys. I love Joe Burrow. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I think he is one of the 20 most talented quarterbacks I have ever seen play the position. That being said, he is just number 7 at this stage in his career. It's unfortunate. I thought Burrow was on a top 3 trajectory. That has not materialized.
Yeah, I do think Burrow has succeeded in kind of a tough situation. I mean, when he made the Super Bowl, no one on his line was like in the league the next year, which is pretty unbelievable. And that's why, more than like his performance itself, I think that's why when people, look at that playoff run and they say, well, like, oh, look at Lou, look at the defense, right? Like, yeah, look at Lou and look at Joe Burrow, because that line that line is as bad as Herbert's now. It's probably worse. But the difference is he did have Chase and T, definitely. But yeah, that was a dog shit. That's got to be the worst.
Bad. I don't know, man.
I mean, he took 8 sacks in the
line
Super
to
Bowl,
ever
right?
be in a Super Bowl, right?
8 sacks in the Super Bowl, and how many did he take against the Titans? It was like right up there, around 8 too. It was crazy.
It was a record. I think that was a single playoff run record, maybe, for the Rams.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, he that's got to be the worst offensive line ever in the Super Bowl. So I do got to shout out Burrow for that. He has the highest completion percentage of all time. I think if you ever try to disguise against him, if you ever try to move somebody from the line of scrimmage out to deep safety or whatever, that's a huge mistake against Joe Burrow, because he's just going to hit the top of his drop and immediately get the ball out. And he's quick. Like, he's really fast with his feet to get out of situations. I think the thing that puts him at 6 for me, instead of like 1 or 2 or 3, I do think that I don't think he's the arm talent of a lot of people in the league. I think, like, versus the Bills in the snow there, I do think the fact that he's got smaller hands contributed to that pick 6 that he threw. It doesn't matter much, but in very specific situation, it does. I think you can see the ball kind of balloon and get height when he really pushes it. And I think if his receivers weren't so good, that would be a bigger issue, because it gives the DBs some time to catch up. But he's just got the best contested catch guy maybe ever in T. Higgins, and one of them in Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
So that sort of specific weakness to him is like totally mitigated. And I think because of the arm, he sometimes is not really willing to test a really tight window, and then would prefer to swirl the defense and scramble before hitting it. And that has contributed to some of his injuries, is like scrambling sometimes when he doesn't have to. I think he does have some clear flaws that we can talk about, but the overall speed that he has in every conceivable way, foot speed, release speed, processing speed, just makes him definitely still one of the scariest quarterback threats in the league. And I mean, his touchdown to T in the Bills game, that first one, like, yeah, that was crazy T extension, but like, that ball could not have been put in a better spot at the same time. Like, he really helps out the contested catch percentage with some of his high placement on these passes. So the accuracy and the quickness with Burrow are super duper power traits.
Yeah.
And he's definitely, we'll see how well he ages, because he's been so banged up, but like peak Joe Burrow. And I think we're still at prime Joe Burrow here, as depressed as he is top 6 to me.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys are saying. I mean, the pure pocket passing, the accuracy, the ball placement, all that stuff is ridiculous. And the reason that I have him at 6, I have him above a guy like Stafford or Dak, is I do think he's a different level of mover, right? He's not the top tier guys in that regard, but he can escape. He can extend plays. The reason that I have him just outside the top 5 is just pretty much physical gifts and what that allows the top 5 to do. I mean, all those guys are like true freak talents when it comes to ridiculous arm talent that allows them to make those throws, different arm angles, off platform, into tight windows, where like they can make some of those special plays that Burrow with his arm can't. And then the big thing is, all of the guys above him, I would say, are more mobile. Like, I mean, Herbert, it's a conversation, but Herbert has been really good as a scrambler this year in a way that's like been very impressive, and has even taken his game up a little bit, at least in that regard. So I'll just say it. I have Drake Maye at number 5, and maybe people think that's crazy to have him above Burrow, because Burrow is so proven and he's done it year over year. But I just think what Drake Maye is doing right now, elevating this offense, and I say this with no disrespect to Burrow, who is great. Like, Logan, are you laughing over there? Are you going to have Drake Maye crazy high, USOB? How are you going to have Drake Maye on this list, USOB? Well, don't tell me now. I can't wait to see. But like, I just straight up think, and it's a marginal difference, because this is a marginally different conversation. Like, these guys are so close. They're both so great. But what Maye is doing to elevate this offense that has a shitty offensive line, a bad run game, a lackluster receiving core, for them to be upper echelon, like 6th in yards per drive, I think 8th in points per drive, like all on the back of the passing game and all of Drake Maye's ridiculous traits. Like, he just has it all as a talent already. The mobility, the pocket presence, the size, the arm talent. Literally the one thing I would say is I wish he was a little bit better at not taking sacks at this point, but it hasn't stopped him from producing like a top 3 most efficient passing attack, considering everything that is bad or mediocre around him. I'm just blown away. I mean, he's 2nd in yards per pass attempt. He's 2nd in EPA per dropback when he's not pressured. He's 1st in EPA per dropback when he is pressured. He's 1st in completed air yards per attempt and 1st in completion percentage over expected. So as he is slinging the ball downfield aggressively, he is still completing the highest percentage of his passes relative to what you would expect. He's 1st in EPA on deep passes. He has been unbelievable there. I mean, just the ball placement, the accuracy is so good. He's number 1 in EPA per short pass. Like, doing what he's doing, you could make the argument he should be higher. The only thing I would say is I just need to see it for a little bit longer. But even though Burrow, Stafford, Dak, all these guys have like this superhuman processing, pocket passing, right? Drake Maye is already so freakishly good at that stuff as a second-year guy, and he's not as good a pure pocket passer as those guys, not as good a pure processor, but he's not far behind. He doesn't make mistakes. He hits on big plays over and over again. He doesn't miss throws. He makes plays with his legs. I just think he's like a truly special talent when it comes to elevating team offense already. He's one of the best second-year quarterbacks ever, so I do have him in my 5 spot. That was really close. I really debated him versus Burrow.
I had him at 7. I had him at 7, and I think he's going to continue to climb probably. I just, again, want to see it through a little bit more. I think about the Steelers game with him this year and like all the sacks and the fumbles that
it's not even him. That's actually not, dude, I can tell you straight up.
Somebody else.
Ramondre lost them that game, and the interception that he threw, he threw it in the red zone. That wasn't his fault, dude. Drake Maye was concussed, and they didn't take him out of that football game. The reason he threw that pick was because he got concussed, and they didn't even take him to the blue tent. Like, I literally think he threw that pick because he wasn't. I'm serious. I don't.
I think it could be true. I think it could be true. I mean, that was an out of character game for the rest of the season. I think that's the one part of his game that he needs to polish, though. Still is protecting himself from hits, which was really bad his rookie year, and is now like not that bad, but still probably an area where he needs to clean up fumbling and sacks. Like, he is a bit of a magnet for contact in certain ways. And his schedule really is easy. They have the easiest schedule since the 90s. So I'd like to see him continue to play well versus like some tough competition. Like, Logan, you've mentioned shitting your pants in the playoffs a lot this episode or in big games. And it's like Maye hasn't really gotten that opportunity because every single team they play is the top 10 of this draft, really. I mean,
but he has also been so good in
he's been so good. He'd be my MVP
Bills,
pick despite
the
this.
Bucks.
If I had to vote for MVP, he'd be my MVP. I think he's
Drake
the
Maye.
Schedule is like the least of my concerns. Like, he doesn't have Puka. He doesn't have Adams. He doesn't have an elite offensive line. He's the most accurate quarterback in the league when you look at the depth at which he's throwing and the pressure at which he's throwing under. I mean, his placement is A+++++. It's so good. Yeah. So, and he's a good runner. Like, he would be my MVP pick, but I still have him at 7th overall just because, like, it's hard to unseat Joe Burrow. Like, it's hard to unseat some of these guys who have had top 10 offenses year after year after year after year after year after year.
Oh, I'm realizing now who you have really high. For a second, I was thinking, hold on, we're out of step here. Now
I have Dak really, really high.
Yeah. That's what I was starting to realize. Just real quick, we need to make this podcast longer since we're more than 3 hours deep. Speaking of guys balling out while concussed, first of all, it was fucked up that the Bengals kept T. Higgins in that game last week.
Was
like fucked up, and he had a couple drops where you're like, okay, yeah, I'm sure that was affected by the fact that he was concussed and took multiple hits to the head or hit his head on the ground very hard after he had just been concussed. That
he was concussed going into that game,
and he was still unbelievable. So I don't want to like make it sound like, anyone should ever play through a concussion, but the fact that T. Higgins did what he did while concussed, that guy's a fucking superhero. Jamar's a superhero, and that does factor into the Burrow stuff. Like, I can't even imagine if you gave any of the top 5 those receivers, and I understand that Burrow's lines have been bad to mediocre, but like, Jesus, man, you just put the ball up there and they make special shit happen. So That's all I have to say about
have you
that.
ever had a headache and you like shake your head around a little bit and it like hurts so bad? Like
Mhm.
that's not even a concussion. I can't imagine being T, having a concussion, and then hitting your head on the turf again, and then
Yeah.
like I can't even fathom how like bad that must hurt and like how out of it you must be. Like
And he made a one-handed catch with a DB who had his arm like
yeah,
on
and
him,
one.
a touchdown and one. Like, what the hell, man?
And then flipped over his back and landed on his feet and like celebrated. It's like, how are you that coordinated with a concussion? Like again, I have a minor headache and like I am truly confined to my bed. Like
They're going to use this against you, Theo. They're going to call you a soft boy. No, they're going to say you shouldn't talk about this man's game. No, start lifting. Start deadlifting. Squat
I
650.
actually have started lifting.
Oh, nice.
But
No, I meant like at this very moment.
at this moment.
Doctor it, but I just Logan, Theo, both of you, I want you guys to be viewed as Spartans. I want you to be viewed as great warriors.
I mean, it is a 3-hour.
That's how
podcast,
I see you guys.
So
that speaks to some fucking longevity and endurance. Okay, Theo, you have Dak at 5.
Yeah, I do. I think Dak. Dak is just like unbelievable to me. I feel like he's got his foot on the gas to such an insane level, year in, year out, game in, game out. Like he wants to rip the seam. He wants to go deep. He wants every single inch out of every single play, which I really respect with him. And just every year he's healthy, the Cowboys are just a dynamic passing attack that flows through him. I mean, Zeke as a rookie, you could say like credit could be divided, but for the most part, like Zeke has been washed or the run game just hasn't been very good in Dallas. And it's spread out. Dak is going through reads. Dak is making the highest level of difficulty throw that he can, just over and over and over again. And the Cowboys just are threatening because of him, because of that. Like, I think Dak is as valuable of a quarterback as there's been. I think I really think him and Joe Burrow have kind of similar resumes. Joe Burrow's been to the Super Bowl, obviously, but I just think Dak is, and the injury stuff you mentioned, Dak has missed a lot of games like Burrow has. I just think they're great pocket passers when they're in the game. Like, man, they have their foot on the gas, and that's just kind of how I feel about Dak. He's tough to bring down. He rips it. Aesthetically, he might be number one for me as a quarterback.
I love watching him. Dude, last year, early on, I said Joe Burrow is much closer to Dak Prescott than he is to the big three. People acted like that was slander, like it was crazy. Dak's awesome, and I do think they have a lot of similarities, and I stand by that statement, and I think, it's maybe not seen as crazy today. Logan, who's in your 5 spot, you crazy SOB? You dirty dog, you.
I got Stafford in my 5 spot.
Oh, right. Okay. You already said that. So, at 6... that's still open for you, right? I think I know who it is.
Herbert. I mean, I got to take a ton of time on this one. It's the playoffs. I just need to see Herbert win a playoff game. Go like not even win a play, but play well, not choke a 30-point lead. Like that's really it. I don't really have any don't throw 3-4 interceptions in a big spot.
Your expectations are not high.
Yeah, it's just like I just need you to not be an absolute disaster. I mean, that's really it. And then like I would understand maybe kind of what you were saying, Theo, about Drake Maye versus Joe Burrow. Like maybe you would need to see Drake Maye do it more before you're ready to put him above Justin Herbert. That being said, I think these guys are so similar. And again, just the fact, I get that Maye hasn't played the hardest schedule, but the fact that he is doing unbelievable things like the deep ball accuracy, the scrambling, he's doing it in a not great offensive situation. He has not a ton of talent around him. Like, I'm going to value that. So I get it's a little tongue-in-cheek not having seen Maye go on a playoff run and having him this high, but he's been so damn good this year. I just can't deny it. So I have Herbert 6, Stafford 5. I've got Drake Maye in my 4 spot.
I have Herbert at 4. It comes down to what you said. I mean, I think Maye has been better this year. I think Maye has been my MVP, but I also think Herbert has been amazing this year. And I am just not going to treat the lack of evidence here as a pro for Drake Maye when it comes to playoff performance and then overreact to a very small sample size when it comes to Herbert and say 2 games. And it was really just one game that was like really bad. And he was really bad last year. But I just think when you put on tape 80 games of excellence, that just means a lot more to me. So that's where I'm at with him. I think he's been in offensive hell this year. He's been in football hell. He's the most pressured quarterback in the NFL, 44% pressure rate. His offensive line has completely fallen apart, and he has just found a way to make plays happen repeatedly. I mean, he's 3rd in scramble rushing yards among quarterbacks now. That's crazy. He's only behind Allen and Mahomes. Like, he's added that layer to his game, and he has elite everything. Like, this is where, again, we are just talking about these freak talents now in the top 5, where he's got an elite arm, elite accuracy, great processing, great pocket presence, and he can move. What he has shown us in brutal situations is just so impressive to me. What he has shown us as an elevator, the Chargers over his tenure when he's off the field, which hasn't happened much, but they score 8 points per game fewer than they do when he's on it. I just think that's a testament to his value on the football field. I do think it surpasses Burrow because he has these crazy physical traits that allow him to overcome a little bit more. And versus May, I have just seen it for Herbert with a little bit longer, and I think he's so damn good. There's just still a little bit more faith there, but that one's really close for me.
Yeah, I have Herbert at 3. I put him above Lamar because Lamar has just been kind of stinky this year, honestly, and Herbert's been carrying. I don't know if that'll hold, but like that's just the way I'm feeling right now. I watched the Eagles game. I saw him get hit so much, get pressured 68% of the time.
Crazy,
his wide receivers getting jammed to the ground every play, and he's got a broken hand, and he's just like literally willing the offense to points. And
that's a Spartan right there, actually.
That is a Spartan. It is a Spartan. And I think in the Harbaugh era, like, I don't think Harbaugh is what he used to be. I really don't think Harbaugh is really adding much value. This coaching staff is adding much value to Herbert's career. I think all he's doing is just like overcoming and overcoming and overcoming. And last year they won 11 games. He threw 3 interceptions total the whole year. This year it's even worse. They're probably going to win 11 games again and get to the playoffs. And then they'll probably get smoked in the playoffs because they'll play the Texans defense week 1 behind this line, and he'll just get fucking annihilated. And then I'll hear, can he do it in the playoffs? And it's like, at this point, like, I want to see him do good in the playoffs too. And last year was a disaster, obviously, like just some very strange decisions and throws. But like at this point, like, he's dragged such a poverty offense to the playoffs just to get sacrificed there. And it's like, I give him more credit for just being there than like dinging him for the failures there. Not that the Jaguars and Texans are like the toughest comp in the world. I just think like his line is pretty ass. And
well, the Texans, that would be tough. That defense is like,
that is from a quarterback's perspective. It is
doesn't get tougher than that, literally.
Yeah, if that's fair. But I got him at 3. I think his carry job is crazy, but the stats won't really flesh that out.
You don't think Harbaugh's a good coach, or you just don't think he enhances Herbert?
I don't think he's a great coach at this point, or I don't think he enhances Herbert. Like, I don't know what he does well. Like,
I don't think he enhances Herbert. I do think Harbaugh's a really good coach.
I think he's a staff builder. I think he brought in Minter, and Minter is.
I think he's
really
a winner.
Good. He is a winner. I just think that what they've been doing with Herbert this year, of like just these long developing plays behind that line, like, sure, he brought in Minter, but like Roman with a bad offensive line is just like bad. And I don't think Herbert is seeing any benefit from Harbaugh. Like, when Harbaugh is giving him like not much. Like, it's kind of.
I'm saying I agree with that. I just think Harbaugh is a good coach.
I think he's a good coach. I don't think
it doesn't help Herbert specifically, but I think it helps the Chargers as a whole. I think there's a reason that, that defense got overhauled so quickly, and Minter's a big part of that, but that's your job as a coach. You bring in coordinators, you build a culture, and that's why Harbaugh
If Minter gets hired away, I will be interested to see if Jim goes kind of the way of his brother John. As like, well, what is it exactly that you do here? I'm concerned about that with both Harbaughs.
Team CEO, he's got a polo and slacks. What more do you need? That's a classy guy. So I have Lamar at 3. Logan, so you have Lamar at 3?
I have Lamar at 3.
Yeah. And why is that?
He's just not Mahomes or Josh Allen. I couldn't put him below Justin Herbert. I think the failures of the Ravens are a Baltimore in totality kind of failure. I think this offensive line has seriously regressed. I think there is a significant lack of receiving talent beyond like Zay Flowers. I think Mark Andrews just sucks. I don't think Isaiah Likely is that good anymore. I don't like the receivers beyond Zay Flowers. I think Derrick Henry has regressed a little bit. I don't think Henry's regressed to the point that his stats would indicate. I think Lamar and Derrick struggles are both really interrelated with just how bad the offensive line has gotten this season. I think they've gotten a lot worse over the past 2 years. And I just think the offense has come back, and it's really similar, I think, to what Kansas City is doing right now with Mahomes. I think there is just such an unbelievable burden
Yeah.
on Lamar to play perfect football and he hasn't. I don't even think Lamar has played great football yet, but
No.
I think there is a insane burden on both of their shoulders to just deliver in this game. And I want to be clear when I say this. I don't really think that same kind of stress is not every game is on Josh's shoulders the way every game is on Lamar or Pat's shoulders. Don't get me wrong. There are games where the Bills are just like, all right, Josh, we got to cut you loose, brother. Save us.
Mhm.
But every game is like that for Mahomes, and every game is like that for Lamar. And basically all this is just to say I don't really necessarily feel that different about Lamar the way I do. I'm not going to say he's 5 now or he's 4 now. I still
Yeah.
think he's 3, and I still don't think he's as good as Josh or Mahomes, but he's a top 3 quarterback on the planet. I love Lamar, and even as a Steelers fan, I'm enjoying the Ravens sucking. I don't like watching Lamar not play good football. And for his sake, because of how much I appreciate him as an all-time talent, dear God, Baltimore, help him out, man. Get some infrastructure. I just don't like seeing good quarterbacks get wasted.
Yeah, I so dramatically overestimated the Ravens roster this year. I just
Yeah,
think
me
they're
too.
so lacking in a number of ways.
Too, bro.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar has not been good. This year,
Matabike
like,
getting hurt.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Just
Absolutely.
it was over then and there. Like the pass rush is just not good enough to do anything. They're just not good enough in the trenches whatsoever.
Exactly. They suck in the trenches. And part of their struggles, though, is Lamar not being the same. And it's like, I don't really put too much into that because I think maybe he's hurt. I mean, this stretch of 6 games since he came back from injury, it's just been like way below our expectations for him. 83 passer rating, 7 yards per attempt, 23 rushing yards per game, 198 passing yards per game, 7 total touchdowns to 6 turnovers. Like, he's been struggling. And I think he has such a great body of work. Last year was one of the great quarterback regular seasons we've seen in this league from him. Like, we know who Lamar is. He is going to probably lead you to be the number 1 rushing attack in the NFL when he's right. He is going to lead you to be a very efficient passing attack. He's one of the most transformative regular season offensive engines we've ever seen. He is a tick less consistent than Mahomes and Allen, I will say. If you look at just like he's had more down years, 2021, 2022. It's often when he gets banged up, but he doesn't just string together Josh Allen, 4,800 yards of offense, 40 touchdowns. We're a top 3 offense every year. Lamar doesn't do that. But what Lamar does do is make the Ravens offense 12 points per game better when he's on the field compared to offense since 2019. Like, Herbert is great. Herbert still doesn't stress a defense like Lamar Jackson does.
Yeah. I mean, I think last year Lamar put together maybe the greatest quarterback season of all time. Like it was that kind of efficiency from that Baltimore offense. I think that was Lamar fully realized. I think his peaks have been slightly higher than Josh's, but you're absolutely right that like Josh since 2020 has like literally never faltered.
Automatic.
And even after losing Diggs or Diggs falling off, like because I mean the best weapon for Josh Allen right now is Dalton Kincaid.
It's not even close.
It's
Dalton
Kincaid, and it's not
he's
close.
the only, and I say this with no disrespect to Khalil Shakir, but with how he's utilized in the Bills offense, Dalton Kincaid is the only good pass catcher on the football team because Shakir is exclusively a screen guy at this point. And he's good after the catch, but he doesn't actually ever catch the ball downfield. So yeah. And even, with Kincaid out for a bit of a stretch, I mean, Josh was still doing
and I don't think Joe Brady is necessarily crushing it this year either.
Not at all. Not at all. I think people can look at the Bills and they can say Josh has a lot of help. And I would agree in the sense that the offensive line is really good and the run game is great. And James Cook is awesome. However, there is not much helping Josh in terms of his individual production, right? Like that helps the offense. In terms of the passing game infrastructure, though, there is so much. Like, I don't like the play calling. I don't like the receiver talent. And he's still Josh Allen, and he just makes them a great offense no matter what. So I have Josh always in my top 2. I've had him and Mahomes above Lamar. And part of that is, Lamar being a tick less consistent. And I can't ignore the playoff thing here when we're talking about a bigger sample size. I still think there's going to be a run, I hope, where Lamar's healthy. Lamar plays his best in the playoffs. But the fact that overall his team averages 18 points per game, he's 13 touchdowns to 11 turnovers with an 84 passer rating. When I compare that to what Josh and Mahomes do in the playoffs, it's just a separator. So I do have those guys in my top 2, as I did last year, but I have not moved Lamar down because I still think what he does for a team offense is so insane over the course of a 17-game season. Drum roll. Let's do it. Who does everybody have 1 and who does everybody have 2? Theo, let's start with you.
I still have Mahomes at number 1, and I have Josh Allen at number 2.
Logan?
As do I.
I have Josh Allen number 1 and Mahomes number 2.
And this is ironic because last week I said that Mahomes had been better than Allen this season, and I believed it last week. But the margins with these guys are always so close. Like last year, I had Josh as my number 1 quarterback. I thought he was better that season. I do think now I look at their level of play this year is pretty much a draw. And then I look at the last 2 seasons, and I do think that Josh has been better overall. I think Josh has just been like so consistently dominant in terms of leading to great team offense. I give him a slight edge there. But you guys make the Mahomes point first. Why is it that he's number 1?
I think Mahomes is just like unstoppable in certain ways. Like I think they're almost too efficient for their own good right now. These last 2 years, they've just been so good at putting drives together. They just are so dominant with their clock control, and their plays per drive and their points per drive has been like off the charts good these last 2 years. And it
Last-
just it
Last
shortened-
year, their plays per drive, but their points per drive wasn't as great. I think were they like 10th or something?
I don't know where they were this year. They were first, at least going into the Houston game. And the Houston
They're
game,
seventh. They're 7th now. They fell quite a bit, but
Did they
yeah.
fall all the way to 7th after the
They
Houston
did.
game? That sucks.
Yeah.
So my points aren't going to be as concise here, but I really do think like they're almost hurt by their own ball control because it shortens games and just allows more bullshit to happen. I was talking to Sam Schwartenstein about this at Next Gen Stats, and one stat that he dug up is like after a holding penalty, like the Chiefs still score on like 38% of their drives with a holding penalty, and like the league average is 15% or something like that. Like it's 3rd and 20, it's 4th and 17, it's 2nd and 25. Like Mahomes is still going to do something to give you a chance to dig yourself out of those holes. Like he's going to swirl the defense. He's going to be on the sideline. He's going to put it out. I think like their biggest issue this year is like Rashee Rice dropping those opportunities. Travis Kelce's dropping those opportunities and them becoming turnovers. Like he has 3 dropped interceptions this year. The line is all like backups at this point. Like it's the backup to the backup at left tackle right now. It's undrafted free agents who started playing football 3 years ago. And it just is like Mahomes save us. And he's just like as good as Allen's sense of playmaking is, and as good as like Mahomes is just as good, if not even better. And I think Mahomes is even better, like with the Tom Brady type, like just getting the ball out, throwing with anticipation, throwing it early. And I think that's what pushed the Chiefs to the playoffs last year was Mahomes in structure, Mahomes anticipation. That's what got them past the Bills and whoever else on their way to the Super Bowl. And then they just collapsed because the Eagles were just a better roster overall. I think the defense has fallen off. I think the line has fallen off. I think the receivers have just been stripped away over the years. They used to have Tyreek Hill. They used to have Joe Tooney. They used to have a good version of Travis Kelce, and it's all gone now. They don't go for it on 4th down. Their defense is horrific defending 3rd and longs. Like, I really think Mahomes is the whole team, and I've had him at number 1, and I never think it's a bad idea to move him. And this year, I just think it continues to be a good idea to put him at number 1.
That's how I feel too, man. I feel like they just put way too much on Mahomes' plate this season. And I don't really feel, any differently with their struggles about Mahomes. Like, dude, Mahomes is their most explosive rushing threat on the ground, too. He is simultaneously.
Yes.
He is their entire offense. He is their entire team. And I think the Chiefs need to take a hard look in the mirror this offseason and go, all right, we got to find somebody to replace Travis Kelce. He's washed. He ain't got it anymore. Taylor Swift made him soft. We got to get in some.
Or maybe being 30.
Yeah, maybe that's the bigger deal, right? Like,
No. It was the vaccine.
No, it's
Taylor
Swift.
Swift.
It was Taylor Swift. You're right.
He was
You're right.
woke.
It was the Eras tour.
I think it is so obscenely close between both of these guys. I actually have no issue with you having Josh Allen at number 1. Like, the thing is that like most people would go, Mahomes has whipped Josh's ass in the playoffs. 1, that's just not true. Like Josh has played and been there with Mahomes every step of the way in the playoffs. The reason that the Bills have lost in the playoffs is because McDermott is a bald idiot. His team sucks, and
Bald is a
that's
slur.
the problem. It's not. It's. I can do it. I can
know,
do it.
you can.
Yeah,
You can
McDermott,
say
you ain't
it.
got no hair, you bum. McDermott sucks. Like, the reason they lose every year in the playoffs is not because of Josh Allen. He's a beast. So I think they're so close. I just think that Mahomes has been a little bit better when the chips have been down, and I just have this embedded faith with him. But I have no issue with it. Josh is a superhuman.
Yeah. Listen, I have literally zero problem with any of these arguments. This was an at the buzzer decision where I literally went back and forth, and I put Allen at 1, Mahomes at 1, and I was like, what feels better to me right now? And at this moment,
the
Allen
Bills,
at 1 feels better.
The Bills are feeling better when I see it.
The Bills are a silly, goofy team. I've been saying this in so many ways, but the reality is they have a Josh Allen. And I just think what he does for an offense, like, we're at a point now where this is arguably the best 6-year run of propelling team offense that we've seen from a quarterback. Every single year, they are a top 3 offense. Since 2020, they are number 1 in points per game. It's not close. They are number 1 in yards per game. They are number 1 in third down percentage. They are number 2 in red zone percentage. Like, Mahomes is a superhero in all these ways, right? But what Josh does for you, because I think they're the 2 best third down quarterbacks ever. I think they're the 2 best gotta have it down quarterbacks ever.
Yeah, I agree.
Just because the combination of rushing threat, I can make any play happen, I can make any throw. We've never seen anything like that when it's just like, I need to make something happen this play or it's over.
For Josh's case, too, I would say, because we're considering playoffs included in this, that's why I give it to Mahomes slightly. But if we were just going regular season quarterbacks, I would take Josh Allen.
Yeah, well, I think the numbers, like, if you look at them, they're not even comparable in the regular season. Just like, because Mahomes is 2023 and 2024 regular seasons, they didn't jump off the page statistically. I still think he was great those years. I think part of it, you're mentioning Theo, these long drives, they don't have as many possessions, although that is every bit as true of the Bills. The Bills are in a lot of ways like kind of a ball control, long drive offense over these last couple years with James Cook emergence under Joe Brady with the better offensive line. But my point is, like, no matter how much changes around him, right? Early years of the 2020s, Josh didn't have good running backs. Josh didn't have a very good offensive line. He had good receivers, and they were a top 3 offense. Last couple years, Josh doesn't have good receivers. For years, he has played calling that has mostly been frustrating to me, really since Daboll left. But he has a really good offensive line. He has a really good run game. They can lean on that more. And they also know that Josh can make them a top 5 most efficient passing attack because he can make every throw. He can make anybody miss. I thought last year Josh basically played the quarterback position perfectly because he had all this superhero, big play, crazy creation stuff he always has, while he was literally taking negative plays at the lowest rate of any quarterback in NFL history. That's what Josh did last year. He hasn't been that perfect this year. He's taken some more sacks. He's had a couple more turnovers where he's pressing. But again, when I look at the totality of what he's done over these last couple years, like, I just think he's doing the most to elevate an offense of anybody in football.
Josh took 63 sack yards last year total.
It's so
63. Stupid. Like, think about a sack. You might lose what? That's crazy. That is crazy. He's at 200 this year, and that's still like kind of in line with his career averages to some, maybe a little bit higher, but.
And he and Mahomes are like 2 of the best sack evasion guys ever. And I would say that Mahomes has been a little bit better there this year, which is why, coming into last week, I was like, yeah, I think Mahomes has been a little better. But then Josh plays a perfect game. Mahomes plays a bad game, even considering the vast difference in competition. Like, again, the margins are so slim between these 2 guys. You could go with any one on any day. What I will say that concretely will not move me, and it's what you guys have talked about. If people are going to solely point to head-to-head playoffs, say that is the reason, Josh Allen is 5-5 against Patrick Mahomes in his career. And across those 10 games, he has 3,080 total yards of offense. That's 308 yards a game, 27 touchdowns versus 5 turnovers as the Bills score 27 points per game. He has more yards. He has more touchdowns. He has half the turnovers in the head-to-head matchups, and he has the same number of wins. So
that's also true. He is higher than Mahomes in touchdowns per playoff game, yards per playoff game, and he's number 1. Excuse me. He's number 2 in fewest turnovers per playoff game, too. Better than Mahomes.
Dude, in the playoffs since 2020, Josh Allen averages 306 yards per game. He has 32 total touchdowns against 5 turnovers. Like, these are video game numbers. Among all players in NFL history with 8 or more starts in the playoffs, he's number 1 in touchdowns per game. He's number 1 in touchdown to turnover ratio. So it's like, I'm not even saying he's been better than Mahomes necessarily. Like, in the regular season matchups, I actually think he has been if you look at the last several. But in the playoffs, like last year, I thought Mahomes slightly outplayed him. The year before that, I thought it was really close to a draw. 2021, I would say they were dead even, if not Josh being slightly better. But it's like, what's even the point? It's simultaneously 2 of the greatest quarterback performances ever in the same game. But my point is, that can't be the point. That can't be what you're totally resting on. Because now we're looking at this year and it's like, okay, so now that Mahomes is losing games because of factors outside of his control, are we going to turn this back on him? Meanwhile, Josh, like, to win 11 plus games every single year, make the playoffs every single year, like, even Mahomes and the Chiefs can't do that this year. And the Bills do it every year because of their offense. Their defense is a joke. They have one of the worst rushing defenses I've ever seen. And they're gonna win
in NFL
12
history.
games.
They got Trey White. They got Trey White guarding Jalen Waddle out there.
We got Trey White out there, dude. We fucking brought back Jordan Poyer. Jordan Poyer's been retired for more than a year. And like, Sean McDermott just looks at the closest guy who he knows and says, hey, come play for us. In so many ways, they're such a flawed team. And yet I always have confidence that they're going to win double-digit games, win a playoff game, be an elite offense. Josh Allen is the reason for that. And you can say pretty much all of these same things about Mahomes. I guess the slightest distinction I would make is I think Josh is the best red zone quarterback ever because of what he does as a short yardage rusher on top of what he does as a passer. And I think, I mean, he is still more impactful in the rushing game, but I would also agree with you, Theo, when it comes to like that flawless sort of anticipatory inside the pocket passing. Pat is a little better there. Josh has obviously gotten significantly better there. And I think Josh gets underrated there. You know, he's a
he's good in structure. He's good in structure.
He's great in structure. And like, that's why last year, again, you know, he took the fewest negative plays as a percentage of any quarterback in a season ever. I just think he's so special. And maybe this is the year that like his incredible play leads to the Super Bowl run. I don't know if it will be, because I actually think this is the worst team Josh has had around him.
It definitely
since he took the leap in 2020. It is. But it's also the worst AFC.
If there's no Mahomes in it, I would take the Bills out of the AFC right now. Like if they played the Broncos right now, I'd take the Bills, even though
I agree. The Texans really scare me though, because that defense is fucking insane. The Patriots scare me because Drake Maye and that defense is much better than the Bills. I think I am with you there. What's crazy though is now I'm seeing anti-Allen people try to spin it and say it'll be a huge failure if the Bills don't do it this year. It's like, look at their
That's a Nick Wright. That's a
man.
Nick Wrightism right now, right? Like he's trying to lay the groundwork of Josh needs to go win the Super Bowl with the worst team he's ever had around him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just think like it can be taken for granted that he is literally doing shit in terms of consistency year after year that we've never seen in the history of this game. It's going to be a 6th straight year with 40+ touchdowns. Nobody's ever done that. I'm done now, but I had to get it off my chest.
Yeah, all those things are crazy, but if you zoom out and look at Mahomes' career, the accomplishments like kind of are crazy. Like I think he's 9-2 down 10 in the playoffs in his career. 9-2 in the playoffs down, and you spot the other team 10 points. Has he ever failed a game-winning drive attempt in his entire career in the playoffs? I don't think so. I think he always gets it.
When they lose, they lose big, because it's like you are just a dominant.
I think literally every single like clutch moment he's ever had to have in the playoffs, he's come through with. And it's at the end of the day, like I'm always going to rank him number 1 until that starts to really, until I start to just like see him get worse, honestly. And I just didn't see that from him this year.
No.
What really interests me about Allen is like, not so much is he over Mahomes, because Mahomes, I think, is still like peaking at an unbelievable level right now. It's like, where does Allen rank all time? Like
top 5.
Top 5 all time. I'm sure you've had this conversation.
Well,
I haven't
I've
really
thought about it
as much.
I've thought about it. I mean, I think it would be Brady, Rodgers, Peyton, and then these 2 guys who are playing right now.
No, I wouldn't take Peyton over him.
No, I'm saying that is my top 5. I'm not saying ranked specifically. Well, Josh has been much better in the playoffs.
I wouldn't have Peyton top. I would have
Peyton, but
Peyton
Peyton is the regular season GOAT.
Yeah, he is the regular season GOAT, but I would go Rodgers, Brady, Mahomes, Allen,
Steve Young. Can I get a Steve Young?
Maybe then Peyton.
If we're going relative to era, shout out Johnny U. I'm not really in the mood to do that right now. I'm feeling more post-merger. Shout out Otto Graham. That would be the 5 to me.
Okay. Yeah,
but what I've
think
said
about
is,
it, but Josh is really probably higher. Like when I think about Josh Allen, I don't necessarily immediately think like, oh, top 10 quarterback ever.
Oh, I think top 5 immediately. I
But
think
I might be
talent-wise,
yeah.
he's there.
It might be there.
And the thing is, like, what I will never do is say Josh Allen ranks higher all time, or even Josh Allen's prime or extended peak, any of that stuff. Like Mahomes, obviously, 2018 through 2023 was better. 2020 to 2023, Josh was the second best quarterback in the NFL all those years, but it's still Mahomes. I think the 8-year run, even including this year, which is a down year in terms of team success, Mahomes has put together, it's not just the best start to a career of any quarterback, it's the best stretch. It's the best, if you can call 8 years a peak, even though I think he's gotten better within those, 2022 Mahomes is the best he ever was, better than even 2018. Like, nobody's ever played at that level for that long, in my opinion, that crazy high level. But if you look just at the last 2 years, and we're ranking these guys right now, I think Josh has the slight edge, but it's crazy close. I do think what is for sure is they are both all-time great talents who, like, if you were just to draft the 3 craziest physical talents in the history of the quarterback position, I think 1, 2, and 3 in some order are Josh, Pat, and Lamar.
And then it's probably like Herbert and John Elway.
Why are you guys?
They're up there.
I don't know. Are we just ready to wipe Rodgers off?
And Rodgers.
Rodgers is way up there.
Rodgers might be 3 to me over Lamar.
Yeah, Rodgers is pretty ridiculous.
Rodgers is
his arm was the best.
And he was so mobile. But Lamar, again, just like automatic number 1 rushing attack when he plays 17
I just don't want to Rodgers is the most efficient quarterback ever, man.
Rodgers is goated.
I would go Rodgers and then Lamar personally.
Yeah, it's totally fair.
Yeah,
I can't push back against it.
You.
Theo, what the hell, man? Thank you so much for giving us so much of your time. We literally said coming in, hey, let's try to be a little bit shorter when we talk about the bums this year. We went significantly longer than last year, which was already like the longest pod ever. Now we've set a new Nerd Sesh record. So thank you so much for being a part of it. Logan and I are not going to rank our top 10 NFL contenders this week on the pod. We don't have time, obviously. That's just going to be a graphic this week for all you guys on Instagram. But more importantly, follow Theo everywhere. Support Theo everywhere. Obviously, one of our good friends, one of the best football sports content creators out there. I know now on the Patreon, you're even talking a little hoops, right? You're doing a little hosting, facilitating hoops, a little bit,
talking some SGA, giving some prop, talking about how he's Michael Jordan right now and all that kind of good stuff.
Oh my, that's just delightful. Well, you're the best, man. All of your buddies are the best too. We love Spawn Hour. We love Blade.
I probably shouldn't say that on this pod because they probably already got their SGA prop on this pod. We're talking about Hornets. We're talking about the Hornets.
But let me tell you something.
If you want something different.
I think the people, some of them here want even more SGA prop. But yes, they get plenty of it. They get a full serving every episode on Nerd Sesh. I just can't help myself. My guys, I see it.
I said that he's the best player. Greatness. I said that he's the best player in the league a couple nights ago, watching a Nuggets game with a bunch of Nuggets fans, and they did not think that was.
It's true. Not crazy, Theo. It's a conversation we have to have now. We're talking about 2 of the greatest players to ever play the game simultaneously, much like Allen and Mahomes. How about that? And you know what we do here at Nerd Sesh? We appreciate all of them, man, and we appreciate you so much, Theo. This outro's already gone too long, but yes, go support Theo. Go listen to the Stay Hot podcast. Awesome stuff. And we'll probably have some of your buddies on soon. We're kind of thinking of a master plan that might involve Spawn Hour. So everybody stay tuned for that. And
it can't be that masterful of a plan.
Well, he doesn't know about it, but it's a master plan and he's going to end up being the mastermind of it. Okay. Anyways, if you guys want more of our stuff, you know where to find us. YouTube, listen to the pod everywhere, follow us on social. And with that, one last big shout out to Theo and shout out to all of you guys. If you listened to this entire podcast, you are the best and we love you and we appreciate you. And we couldn't do it without you, whatever it is, yapping for 4 hours about quarterbacks. As always, I've been Carson Breber.
I've been Logan Camden.
I've been Theo Ash.
And this was Nerd Sesh.